you yearn for horizons unexplored, for fellowship and purpose, for a cause worth dying for, to you, we can promise magic.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another video. I hope we're all doing good. I just had a crazy audio. Look, I know you guys are loving those intros. For me, I was just listening to that music overlaid with the Heart of Thorns music, because I'm on the Heart of Thorns character select at the moment, of course. And it was just insane. It got me very nostalgic for Heart of Thorns, though. Have I reversed the two sections of the intro? Well, I'm doing those manually at the moment. I don't know what I'm doing. Well, let me. Whoa. Let's redo this. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Guild Wars 3 Daily. Yeah, I'm going for it. I'm calling it GW3 Daily, and we're going to see how many days we do. Now, I don't know how the title looks right now. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I'm looking at this through a dashboard. I put like the hash. I think we're on. I put hash 6, and I know what you're thinking. But WP, you haven't done 6 episodes. Well, look. To be honest, I count the daily streams we've been doing as Guild Wars 3 Daily. Really, that's sort of how I feel about it. So, I would say that we're on the 6th one now. This format is what I'm going to go with. I've looked at the whole holding bay thing. I think I can juggle this with other series just fine. From a technical perspective, it's not a problem. So, you know, we chit chat, we talk about lore, we do stuff, we spin a video section off when warranted, which we will be doing like every day for a while now because there's so many cool topics. And yeah, we'll see. Do we make it the 18 months? I don't know. Look, if we get a crazy spree going, then when I anticipate that I'm not going to be able to do one, I'll try to bulk some up or something, and we'll see whether we can figure it out. But yeah, I don't know. It could be fun. It's like our thing, isn't it? So we'll see how we do with it. So yeah, thank you again to Mr. Modius there. Now, I've got a little teaser for you from Mr. Modius. We're still talking about that intro and what we're going to do and how we're going to do it and stuff. And he's got this little preview here. It'll probably be something a little like this, ultimately. I don't know if he wants you guys to see it yet. I'm just spoiling here. But I said to him, I don't want a countdown. I don't want it to be an actual countdown because that means I have to actually be here. I can't just let it loop and roll. And I also said I missed the login thing. The login details? Come on. I get a sick pleasure all these years out of people saying, whoa, how did you get the old login screen back? Whoa, what client is that? I've loved that. I've loved that free engagement bait. Okay, no, not in terms of it being engagement bait. I've just thought it was cool. So, you know, let's give people the false impression that we have the Guild Wars 3 client already, right? But he mocked that up. Look at how good that is. And it's clearly based on the Guild Wars 2 design. I get so weirdly nostalgic and excited, looking specifically at that appear as online bit with the green box and everything. I don't know, man. The UI design, gods, it was strong then. So good with the sequel. We'll see how they do with the threequel, I guess. Right, so yeah, let me turn this off. We have lots of questions. We have lots to talk about with Guild Wars 3. I'm not going to exclusively have Guild Wars 2 footage in the background of these, obviously. I'll probably put some Reforged in. In fact, every single day I've been starting, I've been thinking, hey, let's go back to Reforged. And I just haven't got around to it. Today, the reason I'm doing this, though, is Dragon Bash, man. I've got to do something in Dragon Bash. So I figure while we run around, instead of it just being in awe, for once we'll try to have somewhat more meaningful footage. So we'll get away from the Bitter Mountain here. You can tell that I've absolutely not played because this is still standing in this exact place. And I'm going to go to Holbrack. I don't know what it is about this festival. This is the festival that I always skip and I always flake out of and I always do very little. I wouldn't be surprised if I don't have the full, like all the daily AP from this. How would I see that? Feats? Is it feats? Annual feats is the 50, obviously. You can see I've not touched it at all. Well, apparently I've done something. Where does it list my recurrent 5 AP from the dailies on this? Somewhere in here, right? Isn't it? Dragon Basher, is it this? Maybe I do have it done. Maybe I do have it done. What do they want me to do? Consume Zytaffy, do the hologram centipede, smack a puppy. Okay, we're going to do like really basic stuff so that I can hold a conversation while doing it. So I probably won't do the race. I do tend to do the race when I'm going to do this, but we'll just run around grabbing dragon pinatas. It's weird having Dragon Bash timed with all the Guild Wars 3 festivities and excitement. It's kind of a nice, almost feeling bookend to everything. But yeah, so hello everyone. I think we're on day 6. Yes, exactly. I do. I think it's day 6. The Mistrange outfit makes it seem like I'm ready to travel to the Hall of Heroes to do some time traveling. Kinda does. I think I might mention the Hall of Heroes in a minute. So yeah, the main thing that I've picked for today's part is I want to talk about the banner. I want to talk about the juicy little hidden tidbits. Not that I have anything incredible to say about it, but I'm kind of operating on a, hey, this might be fun as a standalone video kind of mindset right now. And I'm sure people will meme around and clown because it's only going to be, you know, 15 minutes long or something, maybe less. It might even be 9 minutes long, who knows. And WP's not allowed to do short videos. Apparently, I haven't seen this, but apparently Arenanet have got like a playlist going of like different videos and things people have made over the Guild Wars 3 release, which is quite cute and quite cool. And, you know, my stuff's not really very easy to integrate into that, I tend to feel. But apparently on the playlist, it's a bunch of people have done, like, 8-minute snapshot videos of, ooh, here's me doing a pog face about Guild Wars 3. That's the content. There you go. And then my video's on there, and it's like a fucking 5-hour-long video. Which just totally doesn't work in a playlist form. No one's going to watch that. Everyone's going to be like, who's this nerd? And just skip it. But still, I kind of like that. I think that's awesome. If you unlock the bear meta reward, it's Coden themed, so technically Gorosei. You know the other thing I haven't done actually? Is it still going on? Yeah, the Summer Games Fest thing. Okay, thank God, this ends in 10 days. I still don't have this done. These were all hints that Guild Wars... Oh yeah, so this was one of the things that I couldn't talk about. Because I had known that it was Guild Wars 3, I didn't talk about this event at all, right? But they put this in-game, right? And it's 3 things... It's technically the Summer Game Festival or whatever event, but the truth is that that's where they were announcing Guild Wars 3. And there were 3 objectives to do, and you got the Guild Warrior Cape thing. It was like oh no, okay, not here. But there's 3 objectives, 3 wardrobe unlocks, 3 guild-related things. It's literally telling you, Guild War 3. I mean, it was very... And it was really interesting, to be honest, for those few days. To just quietly read people online, like, still doubting it. Being like, oh, I don't know. I remember someone in the Spud Club. This event, you have to go to, like, the Orion maps and stuff. And you have to go to, like, Siren's Landing and shit. And it was, like, pretty clear. But there was someone even in Spud Club said, no, Siren's Landing is just in there because they're idiots, basically. And they're messing it up. But I was sitting there thinking, no, these are very blatant hints as to what's to come. So Arenanet do that sort of thing. I don't actually know what we have to do for this. Complete events in any location. All right, well, that's pretty easy. Do stuff in the early maps. Do stuff in the Orion maps. Okay. And 3 wardrobe unlockers. By the way, just to the big shout out to this. This is a good reward. What does it want me to do? Any event in any of these locations? I mean, maybe I could do this. Oh my god, I'm really scared. Ever since the fire, my PC has genuinely been shitting itself. It really has. Oh yeah, you guys will notice a little bit of a production change as well, or maybe you will if I ever shut the hell up. Oh, did you notice? Did you notice the production change? Here, I'll give you another little hint. I'm going to shut the hell up again. Yeah, so what is that? You weren't allowed to super chat. Oh dear, really? What? Is it a currency thing? I've heard sometimes people aren't allowed to super chat. Yeah, the thing is, I set up a... I reset up. I haven't had this on for years. Liz will actually speak. She'll emote when I'm speaking, and then when I stop speaking... she just sits there and chills. That was weird. Why did Signet of Fire just get pressed? I didn't press any buttons for that. So yeah, that's like a little thing that's going. That's really strange. Why did it do that? That's not related to... No, I'm not sure what's going on there. Yeah, and I figured I'd take a little look at it. I still don't know whether I really even like Liss on screen there. And I've had a weird experience, guys, the past week, right? Because of you guys. It's been almost... I think it's been literally almost been exactly a week. I think they're in the middle of doing the announcement. Oh, no, they weren't. They weren't doing the announcement yet, but it was very close to a week ago. Since the announcement, you know, I've had a lot of fair weather viewers. People have come back, boomerangers, whatever we want to call them. And to all of you, I say welcome. It's good to see you again. And it's been interesting. A lot of people have been struck by, like... Or we've just had new people who see Liss there and they think that I'm doing, like, a full-blown VTubing thing. And I've had an array of responses to that. I've had people going, oh, I love your VTubing avatar, right? And that's cool. I don't know why I give those people chipmunk voices. I've had other completely miserly people saying, ew, VTubing? Ew, what are you doing? Which I assume are the older crowd that have genuinely been gone for a long time. It's not. It's just footage of Liss that's green screened as a pathetic substitute for a face cam. But yeah, I've also had people that have said, "Oh, why is it always talking?" They're like really weirded out, and those are the most interesting comments to me. Actually, I've found those really curious because those are clearly people that watch a lot of like other content creators. You know, maybe they're watching their Mass Effect or their Valheim or their, I don't know what they're watching, their Tomb Raider streamers or whatever, and their VTubing is just like it's such a thing now, right? Like it's a normal thing, and to them it's like the expectation that it should be properly animated and properly doing the right thing, and it's not weird to them at all. What's weird is that it's not done well. And that was kind of a strange thing to me to sort of... But anyway, I thought, oh, since I had a couple of those comments, I thought, okay, I'll clean it up a bit. And I made her a bit bigger, I don't know. Last daily you talked about scale and map size, and my immediate thought was, I hope the Guild Wars 3 map somehow mapped perfectly onto the Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 1 maps. That Shaman's map still amazes me. That's a really interesting one, isn't it, Marku? Yeah, Guild Wars 1 and 2 have this beautiful overlay. Speaking of maps, we could have a little look at the maps if you guys like. I don't have Shaman's map on here. But yeah, they overlay so well, and Shaman's Guide is so perfect, and Arenanet did a very, very good job. One of the reasons why they overlap so beautifully, though, is because they literally are... it was the same engine. They overlapped their same map-making tools and everything, right? So they got that beautiful one-to-one. When you look at Queensdale, this really is where the Temple of the Aegis was. This really is the connection to Lion's Arch. Well, old Lion's Arch is, let's say, actually. Where is old Lion's? Here. And that's why it all lines up. I don't know whether that's going to be true for Guild Wars 3, because presumably this whole thing where it's a new engine... So the Unreal Engine thing is quite interesting to me, by the way, because I'm looking at Halo Anniversary of... No, what the fuck is it called? It's not called Campaign Evolved. That's what it is. Not Combat Evolved, Campaign Evolved. I'm looking at Halo Campaign Evolved, right? And I'm looking at the Oblivion remaster recently. And both of these took pre-existing engines and just slapped Unreal on top. And I say slapped, but they expertly layered Unreal on top, whatever, right? Like, that's the Reach engine on Campaign Evolved. And obviously it was Gamebryo or whatever for Oblivion. So we talk about this new game set in Ore being in a new engine. But I don't know, could Arenanet do a similar thing? Could they have their own fundamental stuff kicking about underneath there somehow? I don't know what method they're going with this. For a long time I thought that they were just going to strictly be, you know, Unreal the whole way, because it allows them to hire new talent and all that kind of stuff. And they're going to get away from their own spaghetti as much as possible. And to that end, I thought that it was going to be a more fractally based game, smaller hub-based adventures. But now, Arenanet still haven't said anything, right? But they have said, as of that recent communication yesterday, they did say that there would be limited loading screens, big wide open spaces. And that says to me that it's not going to be a small game. It's not going to be minimal, you know, it's not going to be fractally and little regions. Which says, okay, maybe they are going to do like a bigger thing with it. And in that case, maybe they do have their own engine under... I don't know. I don't know. Well, I guess let me just finish one point. What I'm trying to say is Guild Wars 1 and 2 map together beautifully because it's the same engine. I am less confident that any of that engine will exist in Guild Wars 3. It feels like it's a clean break from the past. Maybe not because of those other games. Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't have to be. But I feel like it's a clean break from the past, and to that extent, maybe they won't do it so well. But it is a beautiful idea. Like, I don't want to take it away from you. I want the Pyrite Peninsula to be there, and I want it to have a huge forest called the Weldwood in it, and I want to really explore. A big world is a huge thing for me. And I think that's a lot of what I've heard Arenanet communicate so far seems to be limiting expectations, pulling the scale in, encouraging people to think more closely about it. But I want to go big, and I want to go bold, and I want to go, you know, massive. I want a Guild Wars 3 the size of Guild Wars 2, but it's just in one region. That shit would be epic. That shit would be so cool. I want a game with mounts like the Seeker, but where I travel and travel and travel, and the horizon never comes to me, you know, because there's these big open spaces. And I don't mind if it's a bit quieter and a little bit less key jingly for that. You know, I like the idea of this labyrinth we looked at. I thought about this last night. The Winterkell Isle, right? The Winternell Isle. What if this labyrinth is like an end game format, right? Where it's this huge, unending, proper labyrinth that you can spend hours getting lost in, and it's like, oh, I'm going to make you cringe. This is just an example, but it's like a battle royale format within the labyrinth or something, and it feels huge and massive. I'm not trying to advocate for battle royale within Guild Wars 3. I'm just trying to advocate for the idea that it could be big and support its own huge game mode within it, you know. I really believe in that shit. I think that'd be so fun. Because Guild Wars 2's ore was brilliant at sort of hinting that there should be more there. Guild Wars 3 could finally deliver it. And if they manage to hit that sense of scale, what does that mean when they start doing expansions and we do get to go to the Crystal Sea? And we do get to go to Ascalon again, or Kryta, or wherever, right? And again, I don't think Guild Wars 3 needs to touch every single area that the previous games have. I don't think that's an obligation. But it's something they'll probably do, right? Like, I'm not going to go so far as to say fuck all that and fuck you too this time, but, you know. That's only because I'm not quite so animated, guys. Yeah, and speaking of world maps and stuff, I don't know, we didn't really get to look at this. Look how far we've come, guys. All right, I had this queued up for last week. Look at that. Launch today in Cantha. And what have we got today? I could draw a big green box now, way out over onto the Castoran stuff, eh? Or a chunk of it, anyway. That today box, it should be a lot bigger now. Way bigger. But that was the Derman Priory floor map. Here we have the globe of Tyria from the Order of Whispers. But really, that's not a very good map. That should be wrapped. You know, we start talking about projections and what is the Tyrian Mercator projection, you know, that should make Great Britain look as big as possible. And the center of the world. Hell yeah, baby. Then we obviously have the Mists map, and this is interesting. I don't expect a one-for-one recreation of this if any Mist-type things come into Guild Wars 3. But I have to say, I've always loved the Mists map. I really have. I've always thought it looked fantastic. This might even be a bit outdated now. Where does push appear on that? It looks so sharp, doesn't it? And so, like, crisp. This is the launch world map for Guild Wars 2. A very early edition. You'll actually notice the colors and are slightly different. And if you look at the... I think this was like the betas map, maybe. I think this is betas. You look at the placeholder names. You can see the Ancient Dwarf Lands. You can see the Steamspur Mountains, when that was more of a distinct idea for its own region. It eventually basically just got rolled into Tarnished Coast from a mechanical standpoint and certainly from an asset standpoint too, as the devs kind of scrambled towards launch. What always fascinated me about this was the Crystal Desert, and you can see the river down there with the green banks of the shores. That always was really exciting and thrilling to think that there was a bit of life coming to the Crystal Desert. It's really weird looking back at this now, 14 years later. The verdant forest to the north, because we've been to a lot of these places. And, you know, some of them... none of them really ended up what we thought they'd be at all. Ember Bay and Draconis Mons weren't... Path of Fire was fantastic, don't get me wrong, but... And it had the verdancy and stuff there. The Ancient Dwarf Lands was probably a bit of a disappointment because it was just Thunderhead Peak, right? And it was very extremely about Kralkatorrik being there, and it kind of has a very specific vibe. But yeah, that was a good oldie. What else we got here? Now, this is one of my favorite maps of all time. This is the alpha map. This when we very first saw in the earliest demos. This is the OG in-game Guild Wars 2 map. This thing was fucking fantastic. It was so classy, so gilded. It's so well outlined, beautiful. And those markers for the cities as well are really, really flashy, really crisp. And, you know, at one point I think I mined those out and I tried to get good looking versions of them for like Discord avatars and stuff. I love those little representations of the towns. I think you can still see them on certain banners on in-game assets, but this map was sick. I loved that map. That's possibly the favorite map out of this whole reel I've got here. Here's a very old one. This is from Guild Wars 2 Press. Pre-release. What happened with the reveal of this, and I think the next one I can show you. Yeah, and maybe one more as well. No. Why these are quite interesting is basically there was a dynamic event that happened at one of the conventions where they got some of the nerds. I think you had to enter a little competition or something at PAX or something, and then they took you into a quiet room, and then you got disappeared. You never appeared again. Ooh. No. You went into the room. They took you to a round table. I never did this. And they said, hey, fans, do you want to design some events? And they gave out some maps, and you got to pick which map you'd design the event on. And through that, we were able to see some early stuff. There was a reference on one of these to the Stone Summit that was absolutely thrilling for us on the forums back in the day. Because there was no confirmation that dwarves were even on the surface, or that the Stone Summit had survived, or anything like that. Of course, 14 years later, all I can think about regarding the dwarves and the Stone Summit is various Icebrood Saga things. This was always exciting because this map of Divinity's Reach features the Divinity's Reach docks, which are to the south. If you go there in game now, they've never been playable. They were only ever hinted at. It reminds me, if you've seen my Oblivion Let's Play, it reminds me a lot of the Imperial City, where you could install like better cities and they'd bring back some of the things that were there in lore, but you'd never actually got to play. So this gate here, and this was a very cool gate. Oh my god, I cannot wait to get guided tours from the devs with gameplay footage in the background. They used to do tours where they'd stand here and say, oh, check out the art in our MMO. We really try to breathe life into the environments from our concept artists. And by the way, there's 20 feature-length movies worth of voice-acted dialogue in our game. And they'd walk down here, and all the NPCs would be speaking. I'm sure you all love the accent. Yeah, so anyway, this gate here, this portcullis, right, you can't see through it. But there was a hint in this early map that this area was another district to Divinity's Reach. You know, the Western Commons, the Eastern Columns, and there was like the Divinity's Dock. I loved this place. I always wanted to go there. They ended up changing the map art so it disappeared, but you can still see it on this early pre-release map. Let me scroll up through here. There you go. Look at it to the south down there. And yeah, in Oblivion, they had a similar thing with like the waterfront district tunnel and stuff. You know, that's the Divinity's Reach waterfront, basically. I always thought that'd be such a cool place to go to and see. But ended up cut from the game. There's also, and this ended up paying off. Right up there at the Plaza of Grenth, you can see slightly beyond that waypoint up there. That's the old waypoint art there too. The Great Collapse as well, by the way. But up there beyond the Plaza of Grenth, you can see that was another gate going north. Why? Because that goes to Lake Doric. And in fact, years later, we did get an entrance to Lake Doric, but not here. So this is where the gate woulda, shoulda, coulda been, right? In game, you no longer see anything once they updated the map. But there is an entrance to Lake Doric. What is it? The Plaza of Lissa? That they ended up doing during Season 3. Look at that shit. They did actually do it. The reason for this is the pre-release for Lake Doric was a huge wraparound map that was full-sized. And Season 3 only did this slice. So, you can go check out my old Tyria 3D video to see a data mine as we actually explore the old Lake Doric map. They did end up doing it, but it was just this chunk. So in a way, this never ended up being a thing, but whatever. And I still love that old world map just for that little detail. Why are we doing this? This is very little related to Guild Wars 3. I don't know, guys. It's just good to reflect. And I think, you know, I want to bring people in the... There, that's the map on the collector's edition tin, I guess. This is the map from the novels. An actual good screen grab here. This was notable because it suggested Guild Wars 2 dungeons. So you can see the Crucible of Eternity, which did indeed become a dungeon. You can see Ara, which did indeed. The Ascalon Catacombs, which did indeed. But what's that? Bloodstone Fen? That did not become a dungeon. The Ruins of Denravi? That did not become a dungeon. And you got the Dominion of Winds marked on there. I guess their plan to do the Tengu was still a thing. Another thing of note is the Flame Citadel did. What? I just saw it a second ago. Sorrow's Embrace did.
Did you find out?
Yeah, Stormbluff Isle marked as a major region. Stormbluff Isle is kind of a nondescript nothing of an area, really, to be honest, in Bloodtide Coast now. But they clearly had bigger plans at some point, maybe. But yeah, this appears in Ghost of Ascalon. Here it is actually in the book, and right there you can spot my finger, my fingies, 3 of them, as I was holding the book open. This was really annoying to take a picture. What else we got? So then we go back to the older maps. This is obviously Nightfall. This is an edition of the Nightfall map though. That is also early because it's got like Ronjok there. I think that was from a Nightfall beta or something maybe. The Realm of Torment map, which is kind of funny considering that weird marker behind the Raise Your Banners thing, the Easter egg, the Raise Your Banners Easter egg, which I guess kind of became a bit of a nothing burger, eh? There wasn't really anything going on with that that we know so far. I don't know, but someone did point out online at one point over this week, hey, that looks a lot like the Realm of Torment map. And yeah, it does. Because it's got, you know, the triangles. But really, it's just the whole alchemy wheel visuals, right? Then we have an early Cantha piece. The Battle Isles. Release Prophecies. This is Prophecies map before they expanded it for Eye of the North. Very, very early. And all the cities are accounted for there. That's the OG right there, everybody.
You've got some nerve.
This was a tweet from Barefoot Matthew, who's been with the series a long time. He made those Ascension runes and a lot of early art from Prophecies. And this was an incredible tweet. He was really dropping some bombshells for a while. This guy was awesome. He was doing like his own Let's Plays of the Guild Wars 2 patches he made as well. It's incredible. Going through a bunch of old files I found in some of my old maps for Guild Wars 1. Tyria started out as a pair of islands, and Ascalon was just called Kylo. And here they are. So I showed you this the other day. The walls of Ascalon you can see down there. The Perilous North. And here's the other one, which is incredible. I mean, look at that map. And you can kind of see how, like, very saturated this is, and the art on this, how it ended up looking like this piece. You can sort of see the similarities, right, can't you, in the color grading and everything. Especially with those mountains and things. I love this idea of a fantasy world with a big crater at the center. I mean, kinda. Ideas like that are a dime a dozen on, like, world building subreddits and stuff, but still. Here's the E3 for Everyone access map, I think. People could actually play this one. You can see the missions in order, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can actually see the layout of the maps there too. This was before my time. You can see the red arena thing. This was an old fan art piece of how all the maps slotted together. This is Guild Wars 2's launch art map, but with nothing unfogged. I've always loved this. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, so good. The graininess, the colors. That was the expanded one when Path of Fire came out. Actually, that's even after Path of Fire. That's during season 1. That's like pre-EOD. That's when Path of Fire came out, and you can see down to Istan, I think. That's with EOD on it. And that's the Guild Wars 1 bog standard map. So there you go. There's the maps. Don't know why I just did that. I don't know. I was just feeling like reflecting on that there. There you go. Do you ever feel like the rectangular maps made the map more boring? Says PRSCESCEU. Meta Festival reward, Blessed Bear Visage box. You could make a Coden VTuber list for the dailies. To be honest, I don't really want to record more of these VTuber things because they're a pain in the arse. You have to set up the green screen just right. And, I mean, I could. That's hilarious. It wouldn't really be Liz, would it? We should totally get this, though, for sure. It does have a /chat, so it will talk to you. Yeah, I don't know about these armor pieces they've been putting into Guild Wars 2. You know, where the heads look a lot like animals. I don't know. Guild Wars 1 was so huge. Yeah, that's the thing. Guild Wars 2 is kind of every bit as huge as... I mean, certainly with the updates. It's every bit as huge as Guild Wars 1. But because there's more freedom of movement, because you can climb over stuff, certainly now that you can mount, it makes things a lot smaller. If you're genuinely moving at a slow speed, like even here in the city, right? I'm not in air attunement. I don't have Signet of Air. I don't have any kind of 25% move speed, but because of the masteries, I have Leader of the Pact, right? But if you're actually moving at the baseline movement speed, and if every enemy you see, you fight, it's very hard to avoid fights in Guild Wars 1 as well, right? If you're actually moving slow, and if you're speaking to NPCs as you go and stuff, if you're engaging with the whole product, Guild Wars 2 is also fucking massive. It truly is. It's just the gameplay completely cripples the sense of how big it is. And, man, I feel bad for getting such low frames now. I really do. There's not even a Zerg around here. It still does have the makings of a big game if the pace was still set to where they once upon a time had it set. But it's very different doing this versus fucking this, right? And I know there's a brief period when new accounts don't have mounts. And they don't have A, B, C, D, and F, and so they get it for their first little while. I know. Right, so should we get into some of your comments about Guild Wars 3? Let's do it, shall we? So yeah, I got a couple of little thoughts from you. It wouldn't be Guild Wars 3 Daily without some comments, would it? So let's do it. And I still have the Tenguin on here. So this guy put a donation. I have to say, it's funny. I get donations on the live stream sections all the time. The video sections, like, no one ever really thinks to do it. So there's this weird thing. I just want to say, if you guys ever do donate in those comments, I will see them. I will platform them. Yes, you are still skipping the queue. Speaking of which, Arnve with a €6 donation there earlier. Sorry, dude. My membership appears paused. I'm not the only one. Intended change? From the copyright troll dispute, maybe? Some consolidation money if it's new info? It is new info. Oh. They've paused everyone's memberships have been paused. So you've all lost your potatoes and everything. Is that because of the... I'll have a look at that. That might be because of the whole ESL situation? That's strange. Sharma's historical guide lines up more on the ore maps, including that weird dragon corpse. Yeah, his historical guide is amazing and all. It's amazing. Yeah, thanks for telling me that, Anve. I'll have to look into that. Okay, so here, Cal El Dorado. We got a Superman fan here. I was thinking about immortal beings and how they could be used to create story arcs that span across all 3 games. During End of Dragons, wasn't there some lore about vampires? I tried to find info in the wiki, but I'm guessing they weren't called vampires because nothing came up. Or am I misremembering? Yeah, I've talked about vampires in EOD as sort of like a fan, geeky, just for us sort of term. Yes, there are vampires in Cantha, but they're like a specific enemy type. They're not sapient. They're more like, you know, just wildlife. They're the hopping vampires, right? So, for example, when you do Urgo's Warren, there are some enemies that were pop-up enemies. Some of them were called, like, I can't remember their exact names, but like life suckers. And what they do is they use a touch skill. They're very fragile. If they manage to touch you, they self-sacrifice 100% of their health and 100% of your health. They're kind of like little kamikaze guys. And so you'd run into Urgo's Warren, you'd have 12 players, and the very first thing that happens there is you step forward and you get ambushed by a bunch of these things. and they if you're caught unaware, boom, you just blow up and die. It's kind of a fun way to say, okay, shit is real here in this. There's other ones called life drinkers or life destroyers or something like that. Life suckers, soul. There's like life ones and then there's soul ones. The soul suckers, the soul destroyers, they do the same thing but for energy. They just nuke your energy bar. And like some run at you from the front, some run from behind, and they're kind of a recurring enemy there. And in certain rare places of the Echovald Forest, I think you find lesser versions. But they're like animals, and they're like hopping vampires is the species, hopping. And now this is where I'm not American, and I don't watch much anime. I don't really care or know anything about Japan. But it's a Japanese thing, isn't it? It's a Canton thing in as much as it was like Far East. And yeah, they didn't just do Japan. I guess it could be Korean, could be Chinese. I don't know. You guys can tell me in chat. What's the idea of a hopping vampire? But they're kind of just this. They're not Transylvanian bloodsuckers, people with pointy teeth and extra life. As far as that's concerned, in Guild Wars, the idea of just a straight up Western vampire, a Dracula analog, they've never done that. It's actually a gap in the lore. In as much as you might not want the lore to just rotely copy everything, but you might also like that. Vampires is not a thing in this franchise. We can talk about vampirism and the idea of magically taking blood, and we can talk about, vampiric elements in the blood specialization in necromancers and the vampiric arts. Get a nod and they get a look in. But the idea of an actual cabal of vampires. So for my little world building project, like I have like 3 distinct fucking massive nations of vampires, and they're all very different. You've got like vampires that live in castles, you've got vampires that live in caves, and you've got vampires that hide among the population, right? And they're all very, very different, and they have different origins and stuff. I like vampires. In any world building project I'd ever do, I'd sort of integrate them in. But as far as Guild Wars Interior is concerned, we just haven't seen much of that. So that then leads me on to the idea of the immortals in Cantha. Yeah, we do have those. There is a really cool, weird idea of these guys with the celestial blessing out in modern Cantha, in techno Cantha of today, that have been feasting on blood and sustaining their life, and there might be like a vampiric kid there. It's very cool, but the actual term vampire hasn't really shown up in the lore, so that's why that won't have come. But so linking this to Guild Wars 3 now, you like the idea of immortal characters that can go across all 3 games. Again, that doesn't really work for the Canthan stuff, because it kind of all begins, as far as I can make out, with the celestial with the Ministry of Purity. But maybe not. I mean, maybe there are some very long-lived Canthan entities and characters out there. It's a cool thought. I like the idea of characters that span all 3 games, and right now the guys with the top running are people that they've been introducing to us in mini X-Packs. So I feel weird talking about this right now. I've got cards on the table, guys. I am insecure about the fact that I know a lot of you guys don't like Guild Wars 2 storytelling. I know you don't. I know you think it's kiddie, and I know that you think it's juvenile, and I know you think it's cringy is a word that comes up all the time, right? And I feel that too in a lot. I find it very, very, very fucking hard. If you watch any of the past 3 years of my Let's Playing, no, fuck it, go even further back, right? I find it incredibly hard to review Guild Wars 2 storytelling, because we all want to put it in a bucket and call it one thing, and just treat it as a monolith and say, oh, they're just bad storytellers now. And look, I'm not trying to defend the studio. I'm not trying to be bureaucratic. I'm not trying to defend it where it doesn't deserve defense. You can't do that. You can't treat it as a monolith. You can't. If you really play this game and you really sit down, yeah, there's an ungodly amount of cringy shit that it's like, oh, why are they focusing on characters like this? Why are they handling characters like this? I'm not into this. This is wasted dialogue. This is boring. The tone is not right. You can do that endlessly, right? But you can also read the lore books that they put around the world. Like the stuff that they filtered around Bavanisos, and the stuff that they filtered around Secrets of the Obscure, and some of the big beats that they did are really fucking awesome too. And they are still angle, the tone of them is still perfect, right? And I think where we can see that it all got to its best actually was the start of Icebrood Saga, right? It's a mixed bag. And that's honestly, I'm not trying to weasel out of anything there. That's the God's honest truth. It's a mixed bag. They have satisfied me fully in some ways, and they've been cringy and weird in others. So it's very hard to talk about this kind of stuff, right? But nonetheless, like, I know that you guys have that impression that it's just bad and that you don't like it. So I feel weird when I say this. Front runners right now, guys, are people like Mabon, Isgaran, Sidony, Waiting Sorrow, or Rising Dawn as she's now called, or whatever. All these characters could be really fucking cool because they exist in all 3 games. They can do a lot of fun stuff with that. And so what I'm trying to say is, let's see where they go with it. There is a lot of potential excitement. I know some of you guys are sitting there thinking, I fucking hate Waiting Sorrow. She talks too slow or whatever. I hate Isgaran. He's an old annoying man or whatever. Stick with it. I am going into it with an open mind because I think there's really good, delectable, interesting elements to all those characters. And I think seeing them... I can promise you I'm interested to see Isgaran in Guild Wars 3. I think that'd be cool. As for the whole vampire stuff, not so much. Right, next, Wawa Buh says, "May the Six watch over you," quoting, yeah, I really think that was a double meaning yesterday, guys. Literally, they're in the city staring over you all. My baseless speculation. Closed beta starts September 2027. Well, that's not baseless. They said that. Beta weekends start... Oh, no. Okay, you're saying closed beta? Why would they be so open and forthcoming about a big beta if it's going to be closed off to everyone? No, I think you're already wrong. I think it's going to be open beta 2027. Weekends are in January 28. Launch in May 28. For context, if you look at Guild Wars 2, and then he's given some dates for Guild Wars 2. Here's the thing, though. This is, again, I don't... What do you guys think? I don't know what you guys think in chat here about this. Is Guild Wars 3 as big as Guild Wars 2? Is it as diverse in experience? Does it have as large of an open world map? Does it have as much progression? Like, even the nature of, are they going to do 80 levels or 20 levels or 0 levels is on the table, guys. I honestly don't know. Let's do a poll. And I'm only going to compare to Guild Wars 2 because Guild Wars 1 is almost like its own genre in a way. I mean, this is a flawed comparison, as I mentioned. What I'm trying to get round to here, so there you go, the poll's up. Is it going to be bigger than Guild Wars 2, same size as Guild Wars 2, or smaller than Guild Wars 2? Actually, I'm going to give you 2 options. Right, so you've got 4 choices there. Bigger, same size, a bit smaller, much smaller. Curious what you guys make of that. I don't know. I'm not convinced it's going to be a massive... Okay. Earlier in this stream, I was talking about world map size and speed at which through which you run through content and shit like that, right? That's one conversation. Now I'm giving you a different conversation, which is focus. How focused is Guild Wars 3? Is it a game with TPVP and hot joins and world versus world and dungeons and I'll try and stick just to things at launch, and activities and 5 cities. There's not just Lion's Arch. There was Holbrack and the Black Citadel, and and 5 playable races and 8 professions as it was at launch, right? Guild Wars 2 is a huge game, yes, for all the reasons I was talking about earlier, but it was also casting a wide net, right? It had cooking, and it had all the other crafting, right? It had a lot of ideas in there. Yeah, it held off a little bit with mounts at first, but they did a lot of shit. So it was a very wide game. I don't know what to say about the amount of content Guild Wars 3 will have. At the end of the day, they are calling it an MMO, a massive game, right? Massively multiplayer online. By the way, you can be a bit of a nerd about this and say that MMO, the massive in MMO, is only referring to networking and how many friends you're going to make, but whatever. Yes, it might be big in terms of content, but I don't know that. On that side of the conversation, I don't know. But in this conversation, I am convinced. I think Guild Wars 3 is going to be a more narrow game. I think it's going to be much more focused in what it wants to do. I think they're going to pull the scope in big time. We've already seen that they've been talking about that in terms of the storytelling, right? But that also is a separate thing. Like, I don't know if it's going to support an esports scene and a Realm v Realm scene and all that shit. I don't know how wide they'll cast the net. But I think it will be more narrow. And knowing that it's more narrow, even just that on its own, you come at me with this comment here, right? Oh, I'm basing my beta speculations based on Guild Wars 2. I don't think Guild Wars 2... It doesn't... well, you may as well base the Guild Wars 2 betas on the Guild Wars 1 shit. It's been 14 years. It's a different game in a different product with a different audience on different platforms. I mean, just look at the fact, guys, talking about moment-to-moment gameplay and everything. Just look at the fact that it's coming out on console and it's going to be a controller-first experience. I think it's definitely going to be more narrow. I don't know. You might be right. But all I'm trying to say is I don't think we can actually base anything, as you say, base a speculation. Except you're trying to base it on Guild Wars 2. And I don't think we can base it on Guild Wars 2. There you go. That's my very long, wordy, padded way of getting around that. The other day, my husband called you wooden toaster, says Lurks McGee. And I'm afraid to tell you that this is exactly what you'll be known as henceforth. You know, I'm down for that. All right? I'm open to the Chud Master. Because we have the Chud Club. The Chud Wars 3. Wooden toaster sounds a bit better than that. Thank you for that. I'm glad your husband has a creative mind. William6807. Currently known lore, Grenth's first follower comes around the time we're set in. He has the Reapers who helped him depose Doom. That's true. I haven't talked about that. That's a very good point. Let's all bear this in mind. So my kind of talky point the past few days is I like the idea... First of all, I don't like that they've already deposed Doom. I think that would have been a cool story to explore as the game goes along. But maybe that's an example of something that they think's too big already. I don't know. But okay, if Doom has to have been deposed, I want it to have been very recent. And I don't know. I like the idea of Grenth as a kid, man, or like a teenager. I really do. I think that's such a cool, you know. And we're connecting it. Can I just say, guys, who is Grenth? You know, if we map him onto Greek stories, who is Grenth? It begins with a H. Grenth is Hercules or Heracles. Take your pick, right? He's Hercules. He's got like a mortal parent and an immortal parent. He's like, and him living among the people, and we're hanging out with him, and he's growing. That's a cool story beat. He's clearly like the Traherne of Guild Wars 3. He's clearly like our buddy, and we're following his story and stuff. And I don't know, we might see him turn into a villain and all this shit. There's cool stuff there. And I don't want to skip over that. So I really like the idea of Grenth, like, finding his feet. I want it to be early. And to that end, I was saying, you know, maybe he can be a god or learning to be a god. But, like, we're not at the point where he has presented himself to Desmina yet. We're not quite there yet. You know, and if I look at... sorry, and just to round the point out. So I've been saying that. Now, this guy points out, by the way, he will still have some allies because the Reapers helped him get rid of Doom. But, you know... You know, that could be fun, and we meet a bunch of the Reapers and stuff. That could be fun. I sort of like the idea that even maybe Doom is on the fringes. He's down but not out, and we sort of still get to see the Reapers come in. I don't know. I don't mind us starting in the middle. I just don't want us to start after a lot of these stories have already been done. I think that could be really, really fantastic. So that is my dream for Grenth at the moment and where they go with that story. What else was I going to say? I had a cool thought. Oh, yeah. I'm going to try to peer into the scrying. I'm going to try and mind read Arenanet here. Mind read. I don't know about you guys, but I get the sense that modern writers at Arenanet, when they read the scriptures, when they read that shit about Desmina or about Balthazar and stuff, they really like the idea that the gods aren't nice. I think they really want to lean into this thing where they're not benevolent and they're kind of fucking assholes, to be honest. And they seem to have your best interests, but in a lot of ways they don't. And I think that's a good idea if you're Arenanet. I think that those are captivating characters that can be nuanced and flawed and stuff. And I think that's what they were trying to do with Balthazar. They just completely missed the mark, right? But anyway, if that's the baseline of this, I really do think we could be seeing, like, a cool story where Grenth is struggling with his connection to the people and sort of turning his back on them almost as time goes forwards, and he's losing his humanity. So, because that's kind of a big theme with the gods, right? That's a theme with Abaddon. That was a theme with Balthazar. That was a definite theme with Cormyr. But it kind of all happened off screen and very fast. And Cormyr is kind of one of those weird fucking things that in Guild Wars 2 is like this ugly barnacle that hasn't properly been talked about, really. You know, it was supposed to be a new era when Cormyr came in. The god of knowledge is deposed. The god of secrets is deposed, but we have a god of knowledge. She's going to be more forthcoming. She's like the community manager god. And then she just fucks off as well. These are all really rich, interesting stories that, to be honest, it's so weird, isn't it? Guild Wars 3 is 14 years old. And Guild Wars 3 hasn't even scratched the surface of this stuff. They very slightly nodded towards it during Path of Fire. And just closed the book again. These are big topics. And it's amazing to think we can get these. These are all still fascinating things for any lorehound that both Guild Wars 2 and 3 could go into and explain and answer. So anyway, I think we could get back to that theme. It would be just... I just want you guys to imagine this. Think about how exciting this would be. Imagine a world in which we have a Guild Wars 3 expansion or storyline going on where we're dealing with Grenth losing his humanity. Meanwhile, Guild Wars 2 is doing a new expansion where we're finally getting back to Cormyr and her loss of humanity after her ascension. I think... Well, these are the... If I was writing there, these are the things I would go into. This is good stuff. This is fertile ground. So yeah, Grenth is a big fucking deal, I think. And I want to see little boy Grenth, who may or may not have the Reapers with him. So by the way, I screenshotted it. This actually shouldn't be here, but I sent this to Malchior in chat earlier in Discord. And just a quick little reminder, you guys are welcome to get in touch with me in Discord. You're welcome to join the Spud Discord. There is a link in the description. If you're in it, guys, I wish I'd called this Guild Wars 3 Daily last week and just told everyone, this is it, guys. If you're in it for 18 months of WoodenPotatoes, come on. Join us over in the Discord. Join us in-game, in the in-game guilds. All right, this is it. I wish I could give you a little tag, a little badge that says I was here at the beginning. I was here on day 6, you know? That shit would be sick. I'd love you to all to have a little badge that says what day you joined the daily series. How cool would that be? Anyway, way off topic again. We're turning around, by the way. We're moving on. Back probably to Ratasum, down the Lions Road this time, to Ratasum. We were talking about the races and the lore, and like, did the gods just favor the humans? There's obviously our buddy Thruln the Lost. Actually, no. We're going to go see Thruln. It makes too much sense to go see Thruln right now. We got Thruln. And some of Thruln's stuff kind of got contradicted, right? In recent years? Am I wrong? But Thruln has always been a Holbrack saying, hey, the gods gave us magic too. My people have walked these mountains since before the humans came. There you go, guys. Guild Wars 3 times scale. Since before the gods put limits on magic. Since before the dragons slept even. Since the age of giants. Well, tell me about the gods, we could say. And the Jotun perspective ran very contrary to what we heard the human perspective was. They said the gods once favored the giants, the Jotun. Favored them. They gave us magic and blessed us with knowledge of mechanical and magical things. Well, what happened? The gods threatened to take that magic from us. They were afraid that we would use it against them. Our confusion was great, and the Jotun kings began to fight among themselves. And then the gods became unhappy with us. They took magic away from us, and they handed it in measured bites to their favorite races. My people have been sliding deeper and deeper into darkness ever since. I think that's what it says behind Lys's hat. So this is where the writing of the modern Mini X-Pact is really weak. Fucking Dagda is there in the story. Can we not talk to her? She's a non-descended Jotun. And it's really killed the mystery and the magic and the sort of coherency and logic of the fucking story that we can't just talk to Dagda at length about all this stuff. It really, really upsets me, and it really makes me not want to speculate about Guild Wars lore. It's the exact same problem that we have with Waiting Sorrow. And it's like, all these immortal characters, it's fucking annoying, frankly. But anyway, going back to just the magic of Through on the Lost, and I can't remember what we've learned differently over the years. Here he is. Hopefully he talks when we walk near him. That would be amazing. He might have already given his speech.
I knew someone. I'll see what he says.
He's already given his speech.
Feel free to share a tale or two while I'm gone. Visitors here will find them entertaining.
Yes, I'm sure she
It's weird, isn't it? The tooth's been cracked and everything in this one. Maybe he'll speak.
I am Thor of the Jotun, and I will tell you a tale about the time before, when the Jotun ruled the world. Long, long ago, the Jotun had magic and power. They were kings of the land, respected by all races. Think twice next time you face a Jotun in battle, and remember the height from which the Jotun have fallen. If you want to hear more, talk to me. I have many tales to tell about the world, as it was in ancient times.
Oh, will he have a break before he goes on about this stuff? Sorry, Cottage in chat, who I totally bow to, says Dagda came from a period where the inbreeding and the wars were already in process. Ah, okay, good. All right, fair enough. I take that back. Is that true? I don't know. What's your source for that? I don't remember that being said at any point in the story, but I'll buy it. Okay, that's good. So yeah, that explains why, you know, that makes me feel much happier about the Dagda situation. That's fantastic. Hey, we had a couple of donations, by the way. Leffy, €2, $50. €2, $50. No, 50 cents. Thank you. I'm not a Guild Wars player. That map segment was genuinely interesting. And you should spin that into a video. Maybe when the Guild Wars 3 map is out. Dude. Wait. What? Leffy, you've been around for ages. You're not a Guild Wars player. Oh god, are you one of the... Listen, can I just say I'm to everyone who watches me for other games in other franchises, I'm so sorry. You're my booze. You're the real ones, and I'm not giving you anything to feast on. But anyway, yeah, okay. Well, maybe I will at some point. That could be cool. Oh, let's turn the game down. Sorry. Let's turn the game down. So basically, this is all quite interesting, and I don't know. I think it'd be really interesting to see that the Jotun were given magic, and they just saw the gods for what they are, dickheads, and they rebelled against it, and now the gods don't like them. That could happen throughout the course of Guild Wars 3. It could happen at the start of Guild Wars 3. I don't know. There could be a lot of things. Oh, by the way, results from the poll there. 46% are saying a little bit smaller than Guild Wars 2. You guys think a little bit smaller? I have to be honest. I'm in the bottom option on that poll. I know that we're all inclined to pick a middle option because it feels safe. It feels rational or whatever. I think it will be considerably smaller than Guild Wars 2. I think it will be a bit smaller in basically every way. That doesn't mean I think I'll hate it. Again, as I mentioned the other day, I come at this from a perspective where I would have accepted a Guild Wars Fractals game or whatever. I don't need it to be that massive, to be honest, especially not if Guild Wars 2 is continuing on. I just don't. I think it will be refined in pretty much every which way. I think it will be big enough to justify that massive tag. But like, I'm coming at this from this perspective of, guys, they have never, not once since making Guild Wars 2, done a release the size of Guild Wars 2. Everything they've done, like Heart of Thorns, was dramatically smaller. We're talking about going from like 40 maps to 4. Right, and I know it's deeper, it had more content, there was more verticality, there were more systems going in there, more involved metas. I understand that the quality was treble, quadruple the level that it was before. I understand that fully. But even still, these are much smaller products. Even the golden age of Guild Wars 2, if I bundle HOT and Season 3 and POF and Season 4 all together, it still isn't bigger than launch Guild Wars 2. So, you know, that's the world we're living in. And yeah, they may have buffered a few more years to work on it. They're less rushed. But I don't know. I think it will be more focused. I think it will be considerably more focused. But I'm also someone that loves, you know, like Shadow of the Colossus. I don't know if you... I feel a bit weird because like people might not know what that is or want to talk about it. But if you guys know that game, right, it is the most immersive, beautiful, incredible, captivating world. And it's huge and empty. It's you on your horse, marveling at the graphics, riding off into the echoing expanse. Right? And that game taught me a lot about, like, content pace and how much I really need to be entertained second by second. And pacing things out and having big open expanses is actually a value all on its own. And that's something I think Guild Wars 2 has never understood. Guild Wars 3 understands it. A lot of older games understand it. So, like, I'm coming at it from that perspective. But, you know, that might just be me being a bit old. You know, maybe people don't want that. But I would love it. Can you guys imagine a Nation of Awe? Traversal, structured like fucking Shadow of the Colossus? I would eat that shit up. That's how you get the giant forest, the Weldwood. That's how you get it. I would be so happy with that. And I actually think that social interactions as well in MMOs are far more meaningful in that context too. Did you guys ever play the game Journey? Journey was like an art piece almost that kind of looked at that. You know, when it's a big open world and you see someone, it's like, oh, hey, dude, how's it going? You actually want to stop and speak. It's just like real world, really, social dynamics. When you're out hiking and you don't see many people, you will have a conversation, you will be friendly. When you're in a city and everyone's packed in together like sardines, you don't look anyone in the eye, you don't say a fucking thing. Anyway, Zinrix says, Aram may not be accessible as the city in the air. It was served like the mists in the sky in World vs. World, PvP, guild halls. PvE would be anything under that city, including all the different temples. Great thought. Interesting idea. I want to give you guys some speculation about Arar, the city, right now. And I think I'm going to give you guys something really mature. Oh, yeah. Mature WP. Am I ever not mature? Mature, balanced, zen-like. These are the words that we associate with Wooden Potatoes. Surely. Hysterical, reactionary, ill-informed. Certainly not. I think I've been picturing Arar as like a central city, as like the one city. I think it won't be Holbrook and Black Citadel and stuff. I think we'll have Arar and that's it. I don't think that there'll be like 5 big hubs in all. I would love that shit. That would be so cool. Hold on, real quick. Let's just pick some at random, right? Let's say that Telmat Null is actually a massive city, right? And in and the village of Ewan is also a major outpost. I mean, there's a village. Bakir Sarari, right, is a huge mansion or something for us to visit. They could do that, right? I would love that. But I have been picturing it as the one city with adventures happening around it. And when I see that concept art of, you know, the people at the marketplace, I tend to think that's Arar. But this could be a totally wrong perspective. Ara might not be accessible at all because it's flying in the sky and the gods are living there. And I mean, it depends what era of history we're in. And maybe we don't get to go to it. Like you're proposing here, it's going to be where guild halls are and where PvP is. Maybe it's like a temporary small place. Another idea is it could be like you're the equivalent of the Salma district, right? Where substantial storylines happen and it's where you get to live because you're favored by the gods. And, you know, you're one of their chosen, which is why you have your fiery seeker because Balthazar loves you. So you get to go to the Balthazar district, right? And that's your home in the Balthazar district. Or like the Seraph headquarters here, right? Where we pop into it every now and for story moments, but it's otherwise not a big deal. It could be that as well. Oh man, I have such a weird feeling running around here. Look at the fucking gun. Do you know how, like, I think I actually have, like, some weird shit to figure out. I love this area of the game so much. I listen to so many dev interviews and commentaries and run-throughs of how proud they are of the Divinity's Reach gardens here. I keep coming to places like this and like really incredible areas of Guild Wars 2 and I know I shouldn't think this. I can't help it though. I keep thinking to myself, fuck man, it's weird we're moving on. It's weird. We're not supposed to be thinking that, right? But I can't stop it. I keep thinking shit. It's a shame this isn't it anymore. Like remember this with the concept art and the world map on the floor and everything? I keep having it. I keep thinking, fuck, it's weird that this is over. This book's closing. This chapter's ending. Do you guys know what I mean? I know that they've told us Guild Wars 3 is going to continue. The funny thing is, though, Guild Wars 3 is not going to continue in places like this. I just have to imagine new players coming in and enjoying these places, but I won't. Which is why I've always been an advocate for bigger stories that loop us back into previous areas of the world. I've been an advocate for expansions that give us domestic stories. Anyway, I don't know. That's just a bit of a sidebar. Back to Ara. Here's me being mature. Ready? I am open to a Guild Wars 3 where Ara, the city of the gods, is not even in the game. I'm open to it. And I know what you guys are saying. Shut the fuck up, WP. You shouldn't be open to that. That's like fundamental to getting ore. That's so important. We're playing the game to go to Ara. We want to see how the gods live. We want to see this place. Right? It's got to be there. They can't cop out on that. It has to be there. Right. I'm going to give you guys 2 arguments for why I'm actually totally fine with it just being up there in the sky and we don't get to go to it. 2 arguments. Argument 1. The chain link fence effect. I very strongly believe that the most captivating shit in video games is stuff that gets talked about, alluded to, pointed at, but you never really get to grab a hold of. I much prefer games where you don't get to go... Fully, truly open world games, I think, kill the magic for me. Because you get to go everywhere, you get to start knowing it concretely. Even if there's something hidden and fun there, well, you've learned what that hidden fun thing is, and then that's it. The magic's gone, right? It's much more magical to see the windmill in the distance and be like, oh, I wonder what's in that windmill. But it's just off the edge of the map and you don't get to go in it. Maybe you get to go into some windmills, but that one's there, you don't get to see it. You know, that magic of seeing the motorbike at the start of Tomb Raider 4 Revelations, but it's behind the fence. It's so close, but you can't quite get to it. So the magic is preserved. I really believe in that, right? The magic is preserved because we don't get to go into every single little house up there in Divinity's Reach. The magic is lost once we can actually fly a sky scale right up to it and we realize that the scale is all out of whack and there's actually nothing there. The sky scale kills the magic. As long as it's near, but you can't quite get to, right? NPCs that wander around, but you can't exhaust all the dialogue with them, right? It makes them feel more alive. Like, immersion to me is always holding that one thing back. It's having, and by the way, that's why like my dream MMO thing, it's a 2D MMO, it's a side-scrolling MMO because you get these big sweeping beautiful vistas in the background that fundamentally the game doesn't take you to. I really think that's an incredibly powerful thing, And then there's this element of that. If you had a Ra in the sky floating overhead, you can see but not touch. It really feels you get to live like those human peasants wandering around in the rest of Or. You get to feel like there's this great, beautiful, divine thing there, right? And it's also that thing of like Balthazar was kind of lame when he got dropped into Guild Wars 2 because it was like, oh, that just looks like a Norn. And it's just a dude speaking Stentorian, right? And with a big swole chest and fire on his head. And it's like, oh, the magic's gone. Like, I much preferred Balthazar when he was just in concept art. And I've always felt that Lissa is meant to be unknowable, intangible. She's almost like cubism, right? And it's like, you can't have that in the real world. And to render a model of her, kind of the show that don't touch kind of kills it, right? And I'm thinking about Guild Wars 3 and I'm like, you know, there's this thing about that you're supposed to go blind when you look at the gods. How are Arenanet ever going to implement them in a way that they can preserve all that stuff? There is one character that they can do that they can preserve all that. Grenth. Grenth is a demigod, right? He's got mortal blood in his veins. So Grenth, like, we can get to it. Balthazar as well in Guild Wars 2 technically was a fallen god, only re-empowered by a shard of the Bloodstone, so blah, 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 blah. But before, let's not get too nerdy about it. I'm just saying, I think that extends not just from seeing the gods themselves, but to seeing where the gods live. And, you know, I don't want to go into Balthazar's quarters and see his bed and see that he had a smut novel hidden under the pillowcase, which is what we got to see for Isgarin, right? I don't want to get too close to these things. Do you guys know where I'm coming from? That's argument one. It's not an argument that you fully have to buy, all right? And I think that if you're going to do a game about Or and the gods, you have to do the gods. They're going to be there on screen. We're going to have to take the plunge. And we're just going to have to accept that we're making a video game. We're not writing a novel, right? So fine. I get that. You can say I'm wrong about that, but I think that there's a strong argument there. Here's argument 2. Let's throw it back to the audience. No, WP, you're an idiot. We need a Ra. It's Or for Christ's sake. That would be such a cop-out. I will transplant every single one of those messages onto Zaitan and Or of Guild Wars 2. And what have I argued for 14 years? What did I say? Even yesterday we talked about it. What did I say? If I had a time machine and I could go back in time, I would not put Or into release Guild Wars 2. Why? Because they bit off too much. I would not put Zaitan into release Guild Wars 2. I would not try to do all of that personal story at release Guild Wars 2. I would hold off and give it its own dedicated time with its own dedicated patches / expansions post-release. Now, if I'm going to sit there and make that argument about Zaitan, I think it's really rich for me to then immediately in Guild Wars 3 say, no, you have to do it. You have to. Just like everyone used to say about Zaitan. So there's the maturity. if it exists. What I'm basically saying is, like, look, okay, maybe there was some merit to hold him back if they didn't have time to squeeze it all in. And that might be true of Arar as well. Maybe just let them cook on the world, on the nation in general, right? They've got a whole fucking continent to cover, subcontinent to cover, right? They have a huge amount to deal with in terms of content and stories and events and all that shit, right? Assuming events are in it, by the way, which I'm pretty sure is a safe assumption. They've got so much to cover. Right, maybe when it comes to really big things that the community has feverish, hyped up expectations about, such as a cool boss battle against an Elder Dragon, let's just chill with it, all right? Fine, do it later. There is nothing wrong with doing it later. You're not releasing an annual game for the PS1. You're releasing a live service, game as a service. It's okay to hold things back. And that will just fuel excitement after release. People are going to play it anyway. We all accept that we're stepping into something long-term here. So don't worry about it. So that's kind of my view, right? You made me think of this, Zinrix. Arar may not be accessible city in the air. Maybe not. But then also they could just do it as a hub. It could be the Salma district or whatever. That's my thinking there. Am I crazy? You're welcome to call me crazy in the live chat or the YouTube comments. What about the Altar of Glorst in Arar? Well, look, what you got to understand about the vaults of Arar and, you know, what you experience in Explorable is that was the gods grabbing a bunch of shit all over the world and hiding it in Arar so that people never found it. So by the time, and that's by the time of GW2 and stuff. For Guild Wars 3, they might not have done that yet. The Altar of Glorst might be in its original location in the Crystal Desert. I don't actually know whether that was a transplant or what, but I've always liked the idea that it was in some forgotten stronghold and the Forgotten did it all on their own. The gods were just like magpies taking shit. I love that magpie thing in storytelling. So yeah. March, thanks for the $5. This is so nice, guys. If we get like, you know, what have we got there? Let's be real about the cash. Let's be real about our cash flow. I've earned maybe 15 quid there, right, from this stream. That's a nice little number to get. If we get that every Guild Wars 3 daily, that's very cool. Thank you. One thing you love about Elder Scrolls Online is a lack of one strict, continuous plot, letting you jump in wherever expansion you want. You hope Guild Wars 3 is less linear than Guild Wars 2. That's a great point, March. Yeah, I think I'm a big advocate for that as well. Disconnected expansions that you don't have to... So like Arenanet have this thing back at Guild Wars 1. What was a player problem they were trying to handle with Guild Wars 1 with the campaign system? Does anyone want to jump in? Anyone want to be a nerd and say it for me? Why did they do campaigns in Guild Wars 1 and not expansions in Guild Wars 1? I know they eventually caved with Eye of the North, but that was just as a justification for doing something smaller so they could get onto Guild Wars 2 quicker. What did they love about campaigns? It was specifically so that every box they sold could appeal to a new audience. That you didn't need this mountain of prior information. And that's the knock on the Elder Dragon story for Guild Wars 2. They saw that as a player problem in 2005. Presumably they still see that as a player problem. And a way to fix that player problem is to do expansions, sure. They don't have to be campaigns. They don't have to be totally disconnected. But just make sure each story is siloed. Elder Scrolls Online solved that problem in that way. And Arenanet have had at least 10 years now to look at that and say, hey, that's pretty smart. And I think we can all see that was. I don't play ESO, but that was pretty smart, right? So yeah, thanks for that. So Life New Productions had this comment here. We're nearly done with the comments, guys. We'll get into the video section about the banner in a second. Separate timelines feels like a cop-out. Very non-committal feeling against the law they've made. Time periods are better. Alright, we're doing a new poll. New poll. New poll, everyone. One more poll before the end of this video. I'm not asking what you think they'll do. I'm asking what you want. Do you want Guild Wars 3 to be in this exact universe so it feels grounded and tangible and you know that Liss is going to be born one day? But then you also know that ore is 100% going to sink. Nothing you do in Guild Wars 3 will ever change the fact that ore is going to get destroyed. Nothing you do in Guild Wars 3 will change the fact that Zaitan will raise it again and fuck it up. Nothing you do will change the fact that there's going to be this dragon crisis, and to be honest, the commander is going to probably play a bigger role in this universe than anything else. It's the universe of all the things you love about the story, and it's the timeline of all the stuff that you hate about this story. Bram will be there. Suwon will be there. I don't know. Whatever your particular pet peeve is, right? Do you want it to be that? Do you want it to be this world, concrete, connected? They can do cross-game collaborations. Or do you want it to be a new timeline? A timeline where the future isn't written. A timeline where they can completely... Okay, by the way, a timeline where they can completely blow your mind about story steps because They can go big sometimes if they want, because it doesn't matter. Like, if it's all the same timeline, when they go big in the lore, you're going to immediately ask, well, why wasn't that told to us before? What? I never heard about the moon crashing into the planet, right? If it's its own timeline, that can happen. If it's its own timeline, you could get all kinds of, and they can try and tap dance around it by saying the gods rewrote history and shit, right? But in its own timeline, they are totally free to do anything and everything and surprise you in interesting and fun in different ways, right? The future is not known. So what do you want? And also the chance for retcons and the chance for broken shit is all 0 if they do its own timeline. I also would argue that the whole Vlok story has a big payoff if it's its own timeline, because otherwise VOE is kind of just going to end with a bit of a nothing burger, I think. He's not going to change reality, and that's it. So what do you guys want? There you go. I think I've just advocated for both. There's a poll. Get your votes in. Let's hear what you all think. Let's go back to Ore, I guess. I was going to try and get to Ratassoon, but we'll go to Ore. I don't know where I sit. I think for me, personally, I'm a little bit more on the its own timeline thing. I know that some people see separate timelines as like they're really annoyed because Marvel has like banged the doldrum on multiverses, and everyone just kind of fucking copy-pasted multiverse stuff. Guild Wars even did multiverse stuff, and I don't like multiverse stuff, right? I really don't, and I don't like going to different dimensions and stuff. But I think that if Guild Wars 3 is its own timeline and it's forever just about that timeline, I think it's not the same as indulging in multiverses, as long as they're strict about it. And I don't see why they can't be strict about it. On the other hand, just to attack you from both angles here, if you're not tired of multiverse stuff, then saying it in multiple timelines is nothing but pros. If you're not tired of multiverse stuff and you're open to a little bit of it, then give it its own timeline. You get the big Vlox payoff. You get the fact that future isn't written and they can do anything. They can crash the moon into the planet if they want. And they can occasionally do a Mists crossover story where you have a little look in on the other Tyria, you know, and you pop across. There's a little bit of mist travel in there. And I mean, Jesus, it's a game about the gods. If they're anything, they're mist travelers. We're dealing with early humans having just mist traveled. So a lot of that connective tissue is there. They could do it if they wanted. I'm not a fan of all of that. But there is kind of this greedy, fat, piggy kind of... let's have everything. I don't know. I do sort of view its own timeline as them having their own. They're having their cake and eating it too. And I don't think it's too bad as long as they're strict about. Yeah, this is it. Vlog splitting the timeline is not about all the different shards of world versus world. It's not, you know, of which the canonicity is kind of I don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole, to be honest. It's like something big and real, and you know, I don't know. They could even spin that into other interesting things. What if the modern gods, when they're talking about the new garden, they're actually trying to build one? I don't know. I don't know what I think. I'll accept either. I'll eat the slop. By the way, I just mentioned the word piggy there. I have a tweet on Blue Sky where I mentioned the word pay pigs. So basically on the Guild Wars Reforged subreddit, some guy was quite rightly saying, hey, isn't it a bit weird you're farming the new dungeon with 4 dead accounts at once just to abuse rewards? And like there's been this weird culture about it where Guild Wars being dead for all these years, people have kind of looked the other way because who cares, right? Just get your fun in. And Arenanet's principles about multi-boxing are that, you know, what's the difference between you and a guy that paid for 5 PCs? So to be fair, we should just let everyone do it, right? And that's all a fine argument. I don't want to attack multi-boxing, right? I think we have to live with it, to be honest. But what I didn't like seeing was someone quite fairly questioning it, someone newly into Guild Wars 1 saying, hey, this is a bit weird. and getting the shit downvoted out of him. And people saying, ooh, you're ridiculous. That guy who paid more money to the franchise should get punished for it? No way. And then the other guy quite fairly saying, this is fucking crazy. I've never seen a game community that loves like this kind of bullshit. Like, this is weird, right? And then he got downvoted. And that guy with a snobby, dead, pay pig argument. Like, what is that? Oh, the guy that spends the most should get the most rewards? Oh, so what? Well, okay, gloves are off. Let's just put all the boosts and all the pay-to-win shit we can into the Guild Wars 2 gem store. No, we don't do that. Why? Because that's a horse shit judgment call. That is not what Guild Wars is about. We don't accept it with people abusing 50 accounts for login rewards in Guild Wars 2, and we shouldn't accept it in Guild Wars 1. You're lucky that it slipped through the cracks, and yeah, multi-boxing is kind of in a grey area right now. You're fucking lucky about that. These fucking nut jobs with their upvotes, it really annoyed me. So I very calmly, and like an adult, I got off of my high horse, and I breathed deeply, and I said, everybody's opinion matters. Everyone has a right to conversation. And I felt very zen about the whole affair. And I wrote a tweet out about it. I just decided to tweet. And I said, this is not fair. But I used the phrase pay pig. And isn't that like a sex thing? Did I get that wrong? Aren't pay pigs, aren't they like getting off? Giving people money? I didn't mean it from the sex. I mean, look, I won't yuck your yum. Have fun with it. Listen, I'm looking for some pay pigs of my own. It certainly would make this whole e-begging thing a lot easier. All right. Does anyone want to be a pay pig? Let's see it. All right. Come on. And you know, if that gives you an erection or whatever. Yeah, so anyway, I googled the phrase. I was like, I just tweeted that. I'm not sure I know what that word means. There you go. Very open-minded. Right, so yeah, next question. Oh yeah, what did you guys vote in the poll? Oh, okay, so 73% of you want a unified timeline. Well, there you have it. I'm all for the democracy. It has been declared, Arenanet. The Dragon Timeline. We just decided right here on Guild Wars 3 Daily. By the way, Arenanet, I am open for community polling. If you want to get some early, sneaky metrics off of me, hit me up through any back alleys you like. And I'll create the polls for you, and this can inform your decision making. You've got 18 months now to U-turn on that decision. Yeah, wow, 73%. So you guys are pretty sure you want the same timeline. Okay, to those of you who voted that then, how do you feel about like not being excited about where the stories can go and stuff? Do you just not care? Oh, are you happy to buy the tap dance, right? If they say, oh, the gods destroyed all of that history, fuck it. Oh my god, we got a pay pig. Wow. Are you surely you're going to charge that back? That's insane. Callous Knight. Dude, that's insane. Everybody give that a thumbs up. Oh my god. Someone actually did it. $99. Holy shit, $99.99. It's $100. Callister is not a pay pig, just a fan. I thought someone said super chats weren't working earlier. Oh my god, dude. Thank you. Wow. Oh, that's all it took. I just had to bait you by talking about erections. Wow, man. Yeah, everybody give that a little thumbs up. That's crazy. Dude, I wish you'd asked a question. $99. Now that's a return on investment right there. That's amazing. Thank you. Oh, we're dropping frames. Maybe not. Oh, please ask a question in chat. We had someone else as well. Ben 5234. Thank you, dude. And I don't mean to see you to seem like the unsung hero here. That's $10. That's also incredibly generous and incredibly kind. Thank you to you as well. You love Guild Wars 2 Daily? We got a long road ahead of us. I know. I know. How many episodes did Guild Wars 2 Daily get? I don't remember. I don't remember how many episodes I did. The Guild Wars 2 Daily was kind of weird, by the way, because at the end, for the last 2 months, I changed it to the Guild Wars 2, the Great Guild Wars 2 Countdown. Do you guys remember that? And every day we were counting down to launch. It was still the same show. It was just counting down. So both together, I don't know how many days we did. And End of Dragon's Day, we ended up with a fuck ton of days as well. I tend to think of that as just a little blip, but yeah. Thank you both. Thank you, Ben5234. Thank you to Callister Knight, who says not a pay pig, just a fan. But I have to say, oink oink. Oh no! In all honesty, thank you. That's so nice of you. All right, let's get to the next question. Here we go. We're back in ore, guys. We're back where the real meat is happening. I'm so sad there's not a way for me to just walk to Siren's Landing. There's not, right? They never created one. They so could have here, but they never did. Right. Speaking of Fable, speaking of Halo, etc. No mention from UWP about Tomb Raider 1's remake. Releases in February. There's a decent amount of gameplay footage coming. Yeah, I did actually consider that I could have done a stream on their announcements as well. Maybe people want to see that? I don't know. Let me know if you want to see that. I might do that. We could do a reaction. I did talk about it briefly. I'm a bit of a snob about it. In as much as Christ, I got hiccups suddenly. I'm a bit of a snob in that the gameplay to me just looks exactly the same as the Survivor trilogy. They haven't really talked deeply about. They haven't done like an Arenanet thing where they say, here are some problems we want to address. Here's what we didn't like before. You know, I want to hear a lot of very specific things about Tomb Raider. I want to hear that they value immersion. I want to hear that they value solitude, quietude, that there's a better balance of action versus exploration. I want to hear that that they stop. That I want to hear them acknowledge that people aren't into the trauma porn, right? I'm not in it to watch 1,000 quick time events of Lara getting impaled and stabbed and decapitated and burned alive. I'm not. I want to hear that they that they're going to stop making it about her dad all the time. I want to hear that they value like schlocky, fun action more than, you know, being respectful to tombs and fringe civilizations. Like, you've drained all the fun out of the franchise. I want to hear that they're bringing the fun back. Bring the dinosaurs back, not just because it's nostalgia bait, member berries, but because you think dinosaurs are cool. And who gives a fuck that it doesn't make sense that there's any dinosaurs? Bang, 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 bang. Let's shoot the dinosaur. It's Tomb Raider. Let's have fun. Look, there's a fucking UFO in Area 51. Let's not talk about it. Let's not get bogged down in the feelings of the aliens, all right? Let's not cry ourselves to sleep because we shot an alien and now we feel bad because we've messed up first contact procedures. No! Let's just have some big-headed crazy aliens wandering around. It's Tomb Raider. Bring the fun back. Go schlocky with it. Go comic booky with it. I want to hear all of those things. I want to hear those reflections on how they killed the soul of the franchise in the Survivor trilogy. Did they do any of that, or did they just give us some basic magnet platforming again? The only player problem that they've talked about is the fact that you can turn off the white chalk, which isn't even, and I've seen people applauding it, and that's not even new. We did this already with Rise. We did this already with Shadow. There are already in-game options to turn that shit off. They already dined out on that. It doesn't change the fundamental nature of the beast. So, yeah, I don't know. It just feels like real nostalgia bait to me right now. It doesn't feel like a sincere, deep thought about the franchise. It doesn't really seem like they're speaking to the fans. It seems like they're just giving her two pistols, giving her the classic outfit, and saying, there you go, please like it now. And it's like, I don't give a fuck how she looks. I'm not here to play Barbie with Lara Croft. I'm here to play a good video game. And I get a bit annoyed about the Tomb Raider community as well, because they're eating it up. They're so excited. And I'm that guy, you know that meme? You know that guy who's like, stop having fun! And then everyone just goes and looks back at the TV and has fun. And then I sit there with a sour face, you know. That's me. I'm that bitter, annoyed, nerdy dick that you don't really want to be friends with. That's who I am with Tomb Raider right now. So yeah, there you go. There's my thoughts on that. Halo, though, I think that fucking... Anniversary Evolved or whatever it's called. Why do I keep forgetting it? Why aren't I retaining that? I think the new remake looks sick. I can't wait to play. Whoa, we got more donations here. Matthew Vent, guys, my throat is sore and I got to get to the banner. Oh my god. I'm a chapter pay pig, but hey, you deserve it. What does chapter mean? What does it mean to be a chapter pay pig? Is that a term? Is that like a subgenre I'm not familiar with? I've been watching you and Matt V play since high school. You're 29 now. Dude. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, keep those anecdotes coming, guys. I've been loving hearing people saying, oh, I used to listen to you on the way to work, or... Just don't tell me that you were in preschool or something. That makes me feel weird. I tell you, the worst thing you can do, and this is not a bait. This is not a bait. The worst thing you can do is give, like, a huge donation... effectively showing that you're financially stable, you got a lot of cash to throw around, and in the same message be like, hey, I used to watch you when I was 9 years old. That would be the duo, that would be the combo, that would be the ego destroyer. No, in all seriousness, thank you very, very much. That's very cool of you. Thanks for the $7 Canadian. And Nightly Winter there again with the 100 SEK. Dude. You actually wrote a comment a couple of days ago about how you disagree with the different timeline argument. Oh, okay, yeah. G-Nick says, aren't there dinos in the new trailer? There are. There's dinos in the new trailer because it's the Lost Valley, because they're retelling the first story, right? And that's the thing. Like, that's not enough for me. It's not enough for me to just see the dinosaurs being well animated and, you know, rendered because it's Unreal or whatever, right? It's not enough. I don't care about the photorealism. I don't care that you're doing the dinosaurs because it's obligatory, right? That to me doesn't say that you fully get it. Maybe they do. Look, and I'm not trying to be a complete whiner here. Maybe they do totally get it. And I think I read a review that it's really fun to jump and flip around or something, which I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. You want to pay pig, but why the fuck does YouTube need you to add a credit card? Yeah, I don't know. I should know, but I don't know. My voice is fine, but the audio is stuttering. The game audio is stuttering. Is it really? Are we struggling a little bit? The game audio? Should I turn the game audio down a bit? That's very odd. Why would one stutter and not the other? Oh god, that might be because of my new little setup where I have Liz talking. Does it start the game audio every time I flick in and out of Liz's little video file? Hopefully I don't have to go back on that. I mean, it's only a silly little thing, but hey. Somebody pay pig to get his attention on the sound issues. Oh dear. Game audio sounds fine. Is it stranded? I definitely don't want it to start during the banner section. You've been trying to fix your audio for 5 minutes. I'll just turn the game audio down. WP, how do you feel about Asgaran potentially being a convenient excuse to why we don't hear about big events or potential god fuck-ups? He could cover things up. Interesting or cop-out? No, I think that you're on to... I think that's what they'll do. If they have a unified timeline, I think they'll do it. But I don't think they'll do it because of Isgaran. I don't think Isgaran has any interest in hiding how the gods fucked up. I don't think he likes the gods. I think the gods themselves hid all their fuck-ups. And that's in line with pre-existing law. Sound is fine here. Do you have anything you're looking forward to besides Guild Wars 3? Yeah, loads of things. I went through my Steam wish list on a previous episode of Guild Wars 3 Daily. That wasn't quite Guild Wars 3 Daily, but it was. Another big showcase. In fact, guys, I've watched so many showcases. I love my time this weekend. This is like a cool week for games. I watched the Nintendo Direct. I watched the Cozy Games Direct, except it might not be called Cozy Games. It might have gone by another name. It might have been Ambient Games or something. I can't remember. I watched that. I watched the big one, the Summer Game Fest, the big one that Guild Wars 3 was at, and there were lots of things in that I thought was interesting. I watched the PC Game Showcase with Day 9, which was mostly not that great, to be honest, but there were a couple of games I grabbed from that. I've watched so many of those fucking things, and they were the Microsoft one. The Microsoft one was excellent. Microsoft came hitting hard with like Gears of War, Halo, and Fable, which are all 3 big properties and clearly are doing very well. And then a bunch of the other things they were showing were also really good. Fable I'm especially happy about because I remember like, 5 years ago they did the first Fable trailer and it was like the little frog and it was funny. And then it disappeared and I was thinking it was like vaporware or something. But now they've started hitting hard with it. Fable looks like it's got that perfect fun, happy whimsy, but also a really dead serious story. And that is everything to me. I like whimsy and fun, silly humor and all that when it's juxtaposed with a really serious like villain. And I think Guild Wars has tried to do that over the years. I think some games succeed better than others. I think Larian succeeded that very well with Divinity. They did it quite well with BG3 as well. Maybe a little bit less so. But, you know, that's a game where on one hand you can attach a gnome to a windmill and send him rocketing off into the atmosphere. And then all the other shit about, you know, the main story, basically. Wholesome Direct. That's it. The Wholesome Direct. I got a bit annoyed by the comments in that because there were all these people pointlessly gendering it. Like saying, "Oh, this is all just for women. This is the ladies' game." It's like, come on, no, it's not. Men can like wholesome stuff too. You don't get to own that genre, right? I like this too. Men make these games too. Men play these, and let's be honest, it's not a gendered thing. Let's stop gendering shit. If anything, let's be honest, that wholesome games thing, right? If anything, it's a bit misogynistic to call it a women's thing because it's not really a women's thing. It's like a kid's thing. It's like juvenile. All those games are like. They're like baby games. It's like baby soundtracks and baby visuals and simple baby capable games. That's really what it is. Let's be honest. All right. And look, we're all opting into that as adults, right? And we're not ashamed of that. It's fine. You know, I can like a game like Yoshi's Story or whatever. But let's be real. It's juvenile stuff. Don't just call it women's stuff. But there are all these people in the comments like acting like it was some great victory for like the female gender. I'm like, nah, come on. Anyway, let's not go there. Come on. It was good overall. You guys should check it out. There are a lot of games I wishlisted from that. Whether I'll get round to them is a totally different question. Right, let's move on. We're getting way off topic here. Next. Azure Avocado says, "Hey WP, since this is 1,000 years before Guild Wars 1, does that mean no Lion's Arch? I guess the main city hub is going to be the city of Ra. Furthermore, during this time period, there's no Black Lion Trading Company, so I wonder if they're going to do something to equivalent to TP, or maybe player-to-player trading." This was interesting. First of all, yeah, I think there will not be Lion's Arch. There could be a place called Lion's Arch, and I think that would be some fun connective tissue between all 3 games. It could be there. As far as I know, I don't know the actual origin or specific date that Lion's Arch started. It could be there. It might be small. It might be a little town or whatever. But the point is, moreover, this game is set in Ore, so at launch at least. So maybe in an expansion we'll get Kryta, and they'll give us some cool content there, and we'll find it. Lion's Arch is obviously the hub, really, so far. Guild Wars 1 and 2. So it'd be nice to see it in another era. What I found more interesting about your comment was that thing about the Black Lion Trading Company. I think we have to be careful, guys, to understand what comes first in video game development. And I am wholeheartedly of the belief that lore, no matter how enthusiastic we are about it, lore does not come first. I mean, it can definitely guide ideas, right? But when it comes to shit like, are we going to have direct player trading, or are we going to have an auction house? How's the TP work? Stuff like that, right? When it comes to these questions, and I'm sure we'll have lots of fun discussions about that as that goes along. there's no way that they're just going to say, oh, the Black Lion Company doesn't exist yet, so we have to go back to direct player trading. There's no way. The law takes a back seat. Who gives a fuck? I think that they will probably have a TP/auction house, because that was a player problem they were looking to solve going from GW1 to 2. And unless they found new player problems and they want to bring back small server economies and stuff like that, unless they have a new big idea, they'll probably keep that set in stone. And they'll just find another law thing to plug it into. It'll be, you know, like the Moogle delivery service or something, right? They'll do something like retainers, or, you know, maybe the Seekers deliver your mail and your wares and shit now. I don't know. I'd love a retainer system, by the way. So that will be fun stuff coming up. We can do a dedicated Guild Wars 3 daily all on that shit. But yeah, it was just interesting the way you phrased that, as if the Black Lion Trading Company has anything to do with the design rubrics. You know, there's no way. They'll invent something. Next, Lupus says, the concept art with the floating rings is actually old. This was new to me. It's the onion ring concept art is old, is it? Interestingly, you can spot several concept art pieces in the background of the video showing gigantic fallen and maybe even petrified trees. It'd be cool to see something like that in the game. You can also spot what looks to be a giant flying serpent/whale. Yeah, I think we'll do an episode of Guild Wars 3 Daily, maybe tomorrow's one, specifically on that new concept art. So hit me up in Discord, guys, and we'll see what we can think about those. We'll speculate on them, and we'll do it on the next part. Here is an interesting bit of lore. Oh, which I'm going to mention in the video section. Well, there you go. So we're done. There's your Q&A bit. Classically, that would be the end of Guild Wars 3 Daily, and usually it will be as well, but we're going to continue on. I'm going to do a video section now. I want to talk about the banner. So last chance here, just to look at people in chat. Again, fucking hell, I'm mind blown. Thank you for all these donations, guys. Thank you. Callister Knight, thank you. Everyone, thank you. Oh. PRSCEU, why did you just say Project Moon there in chat? Oh, yeah. Someone in live chat earlier was talking about some extra studio that Arenanet have contracted out. Have I missed some news? Is there some news about... You'd love the banner in real life? I would love this. What, is like a login thing? I think they should make a dedicated Arenanet launcher where you have 3 tabs, and as you click through the 3 tabs, it gives you full-blown launchers, right? So like the Guild Wars 2 launcher comes back. The thing that all my intros have always been modeled on. How amazing would that be? And then when you click the Guild Wars 3 tab, it's the Guild Wars 3 launcher. How amazing would that be? Come on, Arenanet, do it. Do it, do it, do it, do it. Why can't you give away memberships anymore? Yeah, apparently it's all broken at the moment. Rocker, I'm getting exploded with like fake copyright claims. Every video I do has like 3 to 5 claims on it. No, not 3 to 5, 2. Some of them have only had 2. Of just songs that aren't real songs that I'm having to manually go in and dispute every single one. It's been a bit shit, to be honest. And if it's because I'm breaking up with ESL, I feel really bad. And I don't know whether it's put all my memberships and stuff on hold or what. I'm glad they're still letting me stream. The payment porcine. Porcine? Fine and Seek, £10. Thank you. Hey, WP, a little donation for tea and coffee and some cake. Do you think... I'm good. He's got a question. Thank you. Do you think we might hear or see anything about old or ancient gods? Ancient gods races like Arachnia within Guild Wars 3. P.S. Evening from Wales. I do think so. It's good to see someone from Wales, by the way. I was talking to people in Wales the other day because I rang the Royal Mint, and the Royal Mint is in Wales, and it was a Welsh guy that picked up. I think we can get that. Yeah. Why the fuck not? Dude, if there's going to be an actual Abaddon speaking to us, perhaps through his avatars, right? Even that, by the way, is pretty interesting. The avatar of Abaddon. I wonder what that looks like. I just realized this. Just right now. You just made me realize this. I don't want to see the gods. I only want to interact with them through their avatars. I want the avatars to be back. Fuck it. And you can redesign them, just like Oak Heart's got redesigned through GW1 and 2. You don't have to have a weird purple floating orb for Lissa's Muse or something, but I think we should get back to the avatars. What do you guys think? That would keep the mystery. I'm a big fan of that. But yeah, I think they could go into that, and I think that's a really exciting aspect of Guild Wars 3. How cool, right? Definitely. Oh, by the way, a donation for tea, some coffee and cake. I'm not eating cake at the moment because I'm trying to lose weight at the moment. I'll give you guys one more rant about something that's really annoying me, okay? So for my height as a man, all right, a healthy weight, just strictly on BMI, okay, strictly on BMI, and I'm not lifting weights much at the moment, so I don't have much muscle, right? So BMI is fairly accurate. 85 kg is a healthy weight, right? So I don't want to be over 85 kg. If I get over 85 kg, I'm overweight, right? So I don't want to be there. So I got this Fitbit a couple of months ago, right? And I was at a plateau. I was at 89 kg, right? And I wasn't getting that. I wasn't getting lower. I wanted to get that off, right? So the Fitbit gives you free, like, health coach, Google Health Coach. And it was like, what are your goals? What are you trying to do? And I was like, no, I'm trying to get back to 85 kg, right? I want to be a healthy weight. And so, so it was like, okay, I've got that logged, blah, 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 blah. And I was quite excited to try it out, right? I really am. I'm not on the all AI is bad, blah, 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 blah. But holy fuck, the Google Coach is bad. It's so bad. What is the point in having an AI integrated into the app if it can't read its own data? It does so much dog shit stuff. Like I'll like biphasically sleep, right? So I'll sleep from like 1 a.m. to 7 a.m., right? So I won't have slept that long. I would have only got 6 hours. Then I'll pick up the next 3 to 4 hours in a different chunk, right? Like at 5 p.m. or something, right? So I'll sleep in 2 sections. In between that, but what it will do is it will log it as one long sleep. I've been up and about. I've been streaming. I've been doing shit. You know, I've literally been away, like far away, come back to the house, and I'll look at the app and it will say, oh, you've been, and when I wake up from my nap, it will be like, oh, you've been asleep for 18 hours. That's a long time to spend in bed. It's like, no, I haven't been in bed that whole time. You know I haven't been in bed that time. You've logged automatically that I've been on a walk. Or it will do the opposite, where you'll go out on a walk, you'll go out to a nice park or something, you'll walk along a river, you'll do whatever, you'll go sit on a bit, so I'll go on like a 40-minute walk, right? Sit on, enjoying the nice sun, because we had some really nice sun this May, right? Early this month. Sit on a bench for 5 minutes at the end, right? Just chilling, watching people buying ice cream, whatever. Get up from the bench and walk home. And it won't log it as one walk. It will log it as 2 separate walks and talk about how, oh, your goal this week to get through that weight plateau was to go on 5 walks this week. And well done, you've just done 2 of them. And I'm like, no, that's not 2 walks. That's 1 walk. Just because I dared to sit down for a second. I constantly have to baby it. It's fucking terrible. And the worst thing is, right, the worst thing, I can accept that it maybe doesn't understand biphasic sleep and all that shit, right? I can understand that. The worst thing is, what is the point of that app? Surely it's so, because it reads your data. It reads the number of steps you've done. It reads the exercise that you've done. You know, the Fitbit detects that you were swimming or running or whatever. And it reads the data. It sees what your smart scale said. And it updates. If it's not reading the data, what use is it as an AI? But like, I haven't been 89 kg for weeks now. And I can turn it on right now, and it will still say, oh, we're trying to beat that plateau. Here we go, beating the plateau. And I'm like, no, you fucking idiot. I broke that plateau ages ago. I've already lost the weight. And it will be like, oh, ho, ho. It's so annoying. Okay, it doesn't say, oh, ho, ho. Here's what it does. It says, oh, I am so sorry for missing that. That's totally my bad. I totally dropped the ball. And then you turn the app off and it does it again. Fucking so bad. Oh, I actually think Gemini's alright, to be honest. And I think that the notebook feature on Gemini is alright. And I think gems are alright. I think Gemini's okay. I'm not like a big anti-AI guy in general. But fuck Google Coach. Do not pay for Fitbit Premium. Do not pay for Google Health Premium. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Fuck you, Alphabet. Sorry. Oh, sorry. That I've wanted to go on that rant for a few days. I know it's not about Guild Wars 3, but just let me chill out here for a second. Just that feels good. Oh. That feels good. Oh. I would love to hear from anyone who's had the exact same thing. Weight loss gang, you're on 1,600 calories per day right now to cut. Dude, I can only imagine 1,000 is pretty good. That's actually a nice healthy. I have to cut my calories so much more to see anything anytime quick. Because I'm so sedentary. If you want a great app, get Macro Factor. Well, I have a Withings scale. I have a smart scale Withings, and the Withings app is pretty goddamn good, I have to say. It doesn't have some shoehorned bullshit AI in it. I was genuinely excited about that. I was quite excited to see Google Health Coach because I think Gemini is all right. But they've got a long way to go. A long way to go to fix that up. It doesn't do the most basic... All right, I'm repeating myself. Sorry. And another donation, $20 from Shibarito, who I'm pretty sure donated on the previous stream too. Thanks, dude. Same fake music claims on my stuff too. Also, my speculation is around Akeem, who is mentioned to have stored scrolls in Guild Wars 2 Secrets of the Obscure. I wonder if Akeem created the lost scrolls that sank ore, and we'll find out. That's an interesting theory. I'm not saying you're wrong. I've always thought that the lost scrolls were sort of Zaitan. Just because... the Cataclysm turns... Oh, I don't know. We kind of need... We need a real lorehound in chat right now. Kilbron kind of became a lich with it, right? So it sort of feels like... undeady magiciness was a party to his reading of the scrolls and sinking the nation. And... because remember, he had undead before he even had the Scepter of Ore. And so... yeah, like, I don't know. And he was a lich. I think, I tend to think it was more Zaitan. But yeah, maybe who wrote the scrolls? I think Akeem could be fascinating. I really want a huge Forgotten influence in this game. I want loads of fancy different snake people. I want them to be really cool. And Akeem could be among them. Yeah, how awesome would that be? Akeem. It would actually be really interesting to see the Arenanet open with Akeem as a major character. Not Isgaran, not Mabon. None of the others show up. We know they're around, but Akeem is like living in Ara for that time. Oh, that could be really fun. It could be really fun to dig into the forgotten devotedness to the gods. They could do good, man. It's just, do you believe in their storytelling? To those who don't, I will say, you know, maybe you don't like Guild Wars 2 writing, but if they're different talent on the Guild Wars 3 team, who knows? I did have a comment. It was a little bit salty, so I haven't showcased it. But one of you did drop a comment which was to the effect of, come on, WP. Do you really think they're going to do Savage Char? No. They're going to do sad baby Char that you know, boring and I can't remember how he phrased it. It was a bit salty. And likewise, someone said, "Oh God!" On yesterday's part, someone said the Bram is an adolescent. Sorry, the Grenth is an adolescent thing is really good, but I can see it now. He's just going to be Bram. And you know, a lot of people didn't like the Bram stuff, and I'm mixed on the Bram stuff. I actually thought it turned into a really good arc. I just never thought they justified it for a Norn. I thought they were writing Norn as humans, and I didn't like that. And that's always my issue. I don't like writing Char as humans. I don't like writing Norn as humans. I don't like distilling and melting away the edge to the universe, to the setting, just because we feel that Char need to be politically correct in some way, which is kind of the vibe you get, right? So I don't know. I don't know with all that stuff. But yeah, I'm game to see Akeem and co. There will be no Char. I think that's wrong to say. I think there definitely can be Char characters visiting Ore. I see no reason why there can't be. I see no reason why there can't be some small amount of Char that got magic. I see no, you know, I don't think they'll be playable at the start. I think they'll save that for an expansion. And I think the main stuff going on with the char is obviously across the shores over at Ascalon or beyond. But I think there can be a char influence. And I want to see him, man. Who doesn't want to see a badass Unreal Engine rendered char? Listen, if there are any for Halo fans in chat right now, if there's any of you, right, that played Halo CE originally, check out the remake that they're doing of that. Look at the power of Unreal. It's so fucking good, guys. I want to see a badass char. Do you think we'll see Doom's Covenant in Guild Wars 3? That's an amazing thought. They could actually put the Covenant not just in lore, but actually as a gameplay mechanic and everything. Whoa. Wee-wah. Amazing. All right, guys, these are all brilliant topics, but I have to be scared of burnout. We are 2 hours into this, and I haven't even started the video section. So I'm going to do it now. Thank you for all of the support. It's time to first hide somewhere that wargs won't be attacking me. Can you guys just verify that the lagginess has stopped? Oh, WP, have you considered that the Race of the Forgotten might get a proper name now since they're not forgotten? Yeah, somebody mentioned that. I hadn't considered that, but someone said that in a comment at some point. Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? It's a great point. What's the actual species name? All right. We're going to pick a good vista here. And let's just hope that the game audio sounds good. This video is going to be fucked up if it's not. You guys are going to stop. I'm not trying to bait you to get money. I got to do this video. Find and seek, £5. Thank you. Another 40 WP. What's your thoughts on my theory that Lord Odrin is the wizard on the banner and the mist map is on the font of the trailer? That's a great question, and I'm literally about to talk about that. I don't know. Did we ever get a birthday for Lord Odrin? I guess that's something I can look up right here, right now, real quick. I don't know if we got a birthday for him. I've always liked the idea that it's him. No, we didn't. So it totally could be. So we'll mention that in like 2 seconds. Start the video with hi, pay pigs. No. Oh, I gotta figure out what intro I want to do. What intro do I want to do? Hold on.
But if you yearn for horizons unexplored, for fellowship and purpose, for a cause worth dying for, to you, we can promise magic.
Right, that was clearly dying. That was clearly exploding. I've got to figure this out, man. Why? All right, hold on.
But if you yearn for horizons, unexplored, for fellowship and purpose, for a cause worth dying for, to you, we can promise. But if you yearn for horizons unexplored,
I just want you guys to know I can't talk while I'm messing with this, but I'm actively messing with this. It's broken, right? And I don't know why it's broken. We can't have a good intro if it's broken. Let's see if the potato intro is good. Right, I think I'm just gonna stick with the potato intro for now, and we'll figure out what's going on with it. Well, let me just try once more.
But if you yearn for horizons unexplored, for fellowship and purpose, for a
yeah, it's not looking good, is it? I'm just gonna do the potato intro. Go to the Yearning Center. By the way, I've already noticed people in chat are starting to get really into that bit of the trailer, that little bit of dialogue, that moment. Okay, so what is the timestamp right now? We are 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 10 seconds in. 2 hours, 7 minutes, 10 seconds. Right. That will be useful for me in a minute. Right, here we go. Let's do it. Let's do it. Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Today I want to do kind of a shorter piece. This is going to be a lore piece about, so it's Friday now. We've had a whole week since the original reveal. I want to talk about the banner that appears in the trailer. Now, to be honest, I don't actually really like the banner sections of the trailer. Yes, there's some little tidbits in there, but I don't know. I wanted as much gameplay as possible. But so right towards the end of the trailer, we do get an image, and I'll put it up on screen for you guys now, of this, the red, golden, there we go, flag, banner. I guess it's a banner, right? Raise your banners. That was the whole thing. And there's a question of, like, what's it actually depicting? Obviously, various other early moments of the trailer, we were zoomed in as it was like being embroidered and written. And I think Arenanet released this very knowingly, expecting people to do a bit of lore speculation. And I just want to get, for the record, right here at the start, what I think everything is and what it all means. And funnily enough, the news that we had yesterday that seems to be that Ara is actually floating in the sky in Guild Wars 3 makes me look at this slightly differently and makes me wonder about some of the elements that we're looking at here. So I think there's like 5 or 6 hints in there, 5 or 6 different areas, and I'll just get what I think it is out, and you guys in the comments can tell me anything that you think I've missed, and we can run through it. So let's go into it. Right, here we are, fully zoomed out. Maybe I can zoom out a little bit more actually here. There we go. Right. So in the center, I think this is Ara. Obviously, we are set in the nation of Or. So Ara is just the biggest city, the city at the center of Or. Once we get to Guild Wars 2 and it's been sunk, the nation has been sunk and it's been risen up, everything's jumbled and messed up and it's all over the place. But I think what's important to know as well is when the Cataclysm happened and Vizier Kilbron sunk the whole place, it was also 1,000 years after the gods had left, 1,070 years after the gods had left. And that was a long time for the Orions to keep building. You know, the metropolis grew, more cities should have appeared, and so on. Now, when we actually look in-game at Guild Wars 2, I don't know that they really have any references to cities. You know, we get, and this is fascinating to do at the moment. We have the idea of bays and peninsulas and forests and isles and places with the, you know, some of the god scriptures were around. So this is the village of Ren, right? It's very small. It's just a point of interest, really. But this is where Lissa hid among the people in her scriptures. So we know this was kind of a big place. We have gardens. There's not really anything that says, hey, this was a city. Then you have the cathedrals, and these are like city-sized. So Guild Wars 2 kind of gives you the impression that there was just like one city, Ara. But I don't know whether that's really the case. I don't think that they're beholden to that. And I think that if you strip away the 1,000 years before the Cataclysm and a few hundred years of just living alongside the gods to get to where Guild Wars 3 is, I think we have the idea of a nation where there is a distinct city at the center and lots of open flowing plains and wildlands and untamed frontiers all around it. And out in those, you then have villages, like the village of Ren, forests. Are there cities hidden among them? I don't know. But so going back to the banner, I think this is depicting just the center. You know, and I guess these are kind of mountainy around the edge. Did they float mountains into the sky? They might have. But then when we also see like these arches, these are kind of the big rings that you see have fallen on the floor everywhere in Or in Guild Wars 2. But now we're going to get this really cool vision where they're vertical and you see them on both sides. There's a question of underneath Ara there being the artesian waters. And when I look at these, it kind of makes me think of the ley lines and what's flowing down there. How exactly the artesian waters map to where Zaitan was sleeping, I always kind of had the idea that Zaitan went to Or because the waters were there, and he ended up sleeping there because that's where he had been feasting. More broadly, there's the idea that all the Elder Dragons fell asleep in this area of the world because the Bloodstone had been built by the Seers here, and they'd kind of sniffed it out. But I don't know. I don't know whether we'll see the artesian waters that we can actually go to, and there will be these great pools and sort of an inland sea or an inland lagoon or something. Of course, in Guild Wars 2, when we go there, it's just hidden under Melandru's cathedral, sort of. So yeah. But what I actually look at a lot more closely now is this guy, this wizard. I think there's two big aspects of this wizard. First is just that, hey, it might be representing an archetype that you can play in the game. Because certainly when we look at the bottom left of the banner, we have a combat scene, right? We have an Etin who has been getting shot in the back by arrows. And then you've got this guy, you know, that was clearly firing his arrow. But he's also casting spells. And this guy doing this big jump. And people are saying this is representing their new ideas for combat. I think that's a good point. This is an Etin, right? And Etins are amazing. By the way, I love that there might be Etins in this setting. They're one of my favorite aspects of Guild Wars fauna. The green-looking Etins with the two heads and how they got reimagined in Guild Wars 2 was amazing. I'm loving the idea of them coming into Guild Wars 3 now and being really big, like Peter Jackson's cave troll style. That's what it makes me think with the arrows in his back. But we do actually have that other concept art, right, of what looks like a Kodan raging, being with a guy jumping at him after he's been shot at. What's really interesting about that other concept art piece is you can see that the monster has a frozen arm. And the guy firing the arrow was firing like icy arrows. So I think this is really telling us, this spell, this is the same thing. I think he's casting an icy spell that's going to freeze apart this guy's body, and then the guy jumps and like shatters the arm. I think that's going to be a part of the combat, and they're going to look at the idea of cross-profession combos. Again, they tried that with Guild Wars 2. It kind of became the combo field system, and then it kind of all got broken with the power creep, and everyone can have their own fields and their own payoffs and all that stuff. I think they're going to go to a much purer idea, and that's kind of what this is. Because look at like the whooshy effect here behind this guy's arrow. I think he's casting like icy, frosty spells. That these are like icicles, and I think it's another version of what we saw in that big piece. And the guy jumped. But anyway, this is kind of a representation of the combat, and people kind of add the wizard into it. They say, look, you got a warrior, a ranger, and a wizard. I don't know whether I think that's true. I think that everyone can cast spells. This is like a rangery guy casting spells. I think this is its own piece on the bottom left. I think this is separate. And what is this showing us? This is a guy on like a floating piece of land casting a spell, raising Ara. I think we're going to see the story of how Ara got into the sky, and I think we'll all assume that the gods did it, but maybe they didn't. Maybe someone else did. Maybe this is a concrete character. Now, I just had someone in my live chat ask this question, and I think it's a really good character to talk about. A big wizard from the early lore is Lord Odrin. But he was like known to have been opening portals to the mists like hundreds of years after Guild Wars 3. Hundreds of years later. Is this Lord Odrin? I think it would be exciting if it was. But that would put him into kind of an Isgaran, Waiting Sorrow type archetype. A Keem maybe type character. Where he's really long-lived. We don't know when Lord Odrin was born. So there is a chance that he lived a really long life. He had some kind of ascension, some kind of immortality. The Seers maybe had raised him or something. And in that case, there's the question of the weapon too. I've seen theories that this could be the Scepter of Or, or some big thing like Ancora that the current Visions of Eternity storyline is talking about. I think this could all be concrete. What I think, guys, is by the end, we might know this guy as an actual character. We'll know the staff as an actual thing as well. And yeah, maybe someone actually tangibly rose it in honor of the gods that he now loved. I don't know. I mean, he certainly looks like a human. And if not, yeah, it's probably just a part of this combat scenario here. This tree on the left, I have no real thoughts. I know that there's a temptation with any tree to talk about the Silvari Pale Tree. I think that this building here is a much better candidate for a previous Pale Tree. And we obviously see that in the concept art. This swirl, I'm not sure, unless it's referring to like the center of the mists and the rift, which might have a part in this story. Since the gods are going to be big in the story and they're mist travelers, and the humans are also mist travelers and they're big in the story, maybe. Or it could just be a swirly thing. That's also another way that Lord Odin could have been impacting here, because he might have, as a mist traveler, he might have gone to the rift to time travel or something. They might do something like that. The sun and the moon are very big on here. And the sun and the moon, I've always been fascinated. Tyrian astronomy, I've always been fascinated by. I've always loved when they talked about star charts in the lore, or about the sun and moon. You know, you get the two ascended items, Lunaria and Solaria. And I always loved those when they came out in fractals. I have copies of them in my bank. Here, let's have a look at them. I can't remember what flavor text, if any, is written on them. So here's all the rings in the game. And they were celestial. Celestial tends to be the stars. Here, yeah. Attuned Lunaria, Circle of the Moon, infused. And attuned Solaria, Circle of the Sun. I love these things. They didn't do any flavor text for them. So this got me to wondering, is the sun and... Are we going to get a bit more astronomy this time? Are they going to talk more about the sun and the moon? I always think that's right for storytelling. On the wiki, they don't have much on these. In fact, there's not even really a dedicated page for the Tyrian sun. There is a dedicated page for the moon. And there's not much on there. But there is this. Would you believe it? Recently, very recently, there was a bit of new lore about the moon that got added to the game when the legendary armory came in. And this is a modern patch, okay? For those of you who've been far away, they added lore to every legendary that unlocks when you get the item. And so here's some new lore. Twilight is an old weapon, right? We all know Twilight, probably, if you're a Guild Wars 2 player. But it recently got this lore. Recently enough that Arenanet might have had concepts for Guild Wars 3 going already. And what it says here is, while the other gods slept, Grenth took up his throne, beckoning his companions to dance and howl beneath the stars. It was said that his powers were most potent when the moon was highest in the sky. Now, this could be nothing, but there were a lot of fun, interesting details in the Legendary Armory. A lot of tantalizing clues. And we know that Guild Wars 3 is right around that time that Grenth usurps Doom. When Grenth takes up his throne. When Grenth has his early followers. And there's this interesting connection now to Grenth and the moon. So I don't know. If the story is going to touch on Grenth a lot, and Grenth is going to be our like Bram-style character or Traherne-style character, if he's a Hercules-type figure, half divine, half not, and we're dealing with his birth and his rise to power, and I think that could all be really fun, and I would definitely be up for that. Suddenly, this moon connection might be cool. The sun, I don't know. If Abaddon was the god of secrets and Cormir was the god of knowledge, does that mean Doom had some association with the sun at some point and Grenth got the moon? I don't know. I think I'm digging a bit deep here. It's either that, guys, or they're just trying to put something pretty on screen. But I think the whole pretense of this video is to suggest that there's deeper meaning with this stuff. So yeah, perhaps Vizier Kilbron's Tower here, or the Pale Tree. Something going on with the Celestials. Obviously, we have the Pantheon here, and they are depicted in the clouds, above everything else, distant, looking down on the peoples of the world, though obviously a part of the story. Here we actually do have a constellation, and I have looked online, and I have asked you guys, the Spuds in Discord, check out the description if you want to join the Spud Club. I have asked you guys, hey, what does this look like? We do sometimes see through like the Astralaria collection and stuff, some constellations mapped out. None of them really look like this. It is funny to include, though. You might say, well, that's just nothing, WP. You're grasping at straws. But all the other random little stars dotted around are of the same art style, and they're not connected by constellations. This is like white and very specifically added. I don't know, man. I think that's a specific constellation. The question is which. We know from Sea of Sorrows that one of the constellations is the Vizier's Tower. I don't know. Clouds, obviously, because Ara's in the sky. Nothing else. This symbol's curious to me, but I can't... It reminds me of, like, the Wizard's Court waypoints, to be honest. But I don't know whether that's got anything to do with anything. We've got combat on the bottom left. We have this big circular thing in the center. It looks like there's a crown up here. Some kind of device here, maybe. These kind of feel like dolphins to me, and a butterfly. I don't know. Some of you guys have speculated this looks like the Heart of the Obscure. I think that's a fun speculation. I can't think of anything else. This is a big question mark for me. I'm going to guess that it's nothing new, but it might be the symbol of the Veil Wardens, the guild that we'll be a part of when we join the story, right? The guild that is native to Or, that have lost their way in the world, or you know, they're looking for help. This might be their emblem, their banner, their specific token. And whether that's meant to look like the Heart of the Obscure and whether that's meant to look like a crown in there, I don't know. It's very interesting that in the communication yesterday, they didn't actually talk about kings or queens. They only talked about a high council. And that, of course, leads us to these four here. Who were discussed... well, not discussed. They were shown in the trailer. We had the adventuring party. We have a Kodan. We have a Fursura. We have a human with the long hair. And we have a hooded figure. They're all on Seekers. It would have been cooler if each Seeker was a slightly different design, to be honest. If the idea is that they're all elemental and so on, like we've seen in the concept art. But I think this is very clearly showing... I think this is showing 4-man parties. I don't think 5-man. I think we're doing 4-man. Whether they do like a Trinity style thing with the roles, we're bringing the Holy Trinity back, whether we're going to have fixed tanks and stuff, I don't know. But I think we're going to have small party sizes. I think everyone gets their mount. I think transportation and movement is going to be a big part of the combat. I think they've given you each of the races. And do I think that that's 2 humans? No, I don't. I am big on board with this hooded guy being a different race. The question is what race? Now, one of the races I really want to see a lot of in this game are the Forgotten. I really want to see the Snake people. And I'm disappointed there's no hint of them on the banner at all anywhere. But I think a really high chance is maybe Sylvari. Or again, just as we have the Fursura, an analog to the Sylvari. Sylvari from a different tree, obviously. Sylvari in a very different stage of their lives. And I think as press goes along, guys, you will see this hood come off. I think there will be 4 playable races at launch. And I think that when we start doing expansions, other playable races will come in. I think we will see, you know, maybe the Forgotten. That would be amazing. The Lagos, I would love to see. Some a bit closer to home. The Char, I think, are on the table. The Norn, I think, are on the table. I think people would pay a lot to be able to be the Char once we start visiting Ascalon and going further afield. But, of course, we're not talking about launch Guild Wars 3 at that point. But yeah, I think there's going to be 4 races at launch, and which is less than Guild Wars 2 had, but it doesn't matter because this game's going to be built in such a way that they can expand them. And they might give you 1 new animal per expansion as well, so it's the Seeker for the start, and then there's a new one later. I don't know, you'll notice as well, by the way, that these Seekers with the 4 legs are different to this floaty fly spirit above it, which is also its own distinct part on the banner. So I don't know what you guys think about that. Has that been revealed to us? Are these just different forms of the same thing? Or is it something altogether different? Something akin to, you know, a baby dragon like Aurene was or whatever. And that's it. So yeah, big question mark about the tree. These symbols. And maybe this starburst here. Maybe this represents something. That's it, guys. That's everything I can get from the banner. I do not think this is a portal through timelines or anything. I think it's a frosty spell. And there you have it. There is also a nice little banner in the very center, by the way. So I don't know whether they're going to stick with the whole raise your banners thing through a lot of this marketing and promotional material. That's where we are for the original Guild Wars 3 announcement. This will probably be a really fun video to look back at in a couple of years. So, hey, if anybody does ever go back to this, look, if the year is 2030 or something and you go back to it, drop me a comment. I always look at their YouTube comments, and I love it when they're on old videos. People have been doing that for, like, Guild Wars 2 press and stuff. And, yeah, it's a fun one, isn't it? Thanks very much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. There's a much expanded version of this video on the live tab with a lot of questions, a lot of Q&A, and a lot of fun stuff. Please feel free to come join in on Guild Wars 2 Daily, Guild Wars 3 Daily. As I'll be producing content, subscribe to the channel all the way up to launch. If you want regular good stuff for Guild Wars 2, I'll be your guy. I'll see you guys on the next one. Next time. Oh, God. The first thing I do is look at chat, and you guys are talking about the dwarves. Yeah. Oh, my God. I talked myself off of the subject. Yes, I was going to say. I literally just talked myself off the subject. I mentioned Largos. I've seen people online talking about Largos as though it's not going to happen. Because, oh, they have to wear masks, and they have to have wings, and all that shit. Fuck all that. It's a new game. It's a new engine. It's a new status quo. It's a new idea for how we wear gear and stuff. That's such a thin, lame reason to say no. It was a thin, lame reason to say no for Guild Wars 2. No, give us the crazy body types. So where that hooks into the Forgotten. Yeah, playable Forgotten, man. Let me slither around. I would become a Forgotten main in seconds. Yes, 4 arms. Yes. Look, come on, this is the thing. Myopia, you know, Vlox mentioned myopicness, myopia. Short-sightedness. I think Guild Wars 3 is a love letter to long-term thinking. I think that these are all problems they have with Guild Wars 2, that they're like, fuck, we thought too short-term with it. I think this is a re-establishment of the baseline, and this is their time to say, no, we're going to do it in such a way that we can add new races. We're going to set up the player voices in such a way that it's not going to be a nightmare to go back and voice them, you know? We're going to set up the armors and all that. I believe it, guys. I believe it. And I believe that they can do unique and exotic and interesting races with cool animations better than anyone else does in the industry. Because they are the MMO gods. Chop chop, Arenanet. I believe. I really do believe in that. Oh, man. Oh, God. We got 2 more donations during that. Just said with 10 Canadian dollars. Thanks, dude. What sentient creature in Guild Wars would probably taste the best to eat? Ooh. It has to be sentient. Well, I think the obvious answer people are going to say is choya, but I'm not much of a fruit guy, to be honest. I don't have much of a sweet tooth. And I don't eat to drink often, so I don't know. I don't know whether I really agree choya. Did they ever do any meaty choya? Kerry loved something the other day. She noticed something when we were replaying VOE. Check this out. It blew her mind. If you go to the hunting outpost for the Norn up at the Untamed Crabs. Man, it's past midnight. Holy shit. I'm actually hungry at the moment, and I was just thinking to myself, could I get some food? Order some food? And I thought, oh no, it's midnight. On one of these tables, look at how high res this shit is. Look at that. I'm going to have to turn on first-person camera for a second. Are camera controls in general, or are they in graphics? I think they're in graphics. No, they're not. They're in here. Oh, that was another thing they said on the big Q&A, that they were, you know, they might split these into some more tabs. Here you go. Enable first-person camera. Have you guys looked at that? Look at how res that is. What have we got here? We've got tomato soup with a little sprinkle of, you know, cream in it. And a little, like, leaf. You've got rosemary on this huge thing. This is like some Monster Hunter food here. Look at this. Look at these baguettes. Look at this. This sliced French bread. I like to imagine that's garlic. Look at these sausages. And look at how high res that whole thing is. Listen, guys, if you're not watching this on 1440p right now, I demand you up the quality of this stream, and you full screen this video, right? Full screen this shit. Look at that. I don't know whether that appears in lots of other places in Guild Wars, but goddamn. Yeah, as for animals to eat, I don't know. I'm going to say Tengu, because chicken wings. Reminds you of the low poly grapes from Endwalker. Someone worked hard on this. Whoever made this, bravo. Bravissimo. Sorry, okay. Next was Skylight. Thank you, with the £5. Thank you. WP, percentage chance we'll get to see Zoteka in Guild Wars 3. I don't know. I'm going to say... It's hard to predict. Because it kind of depends on how big they go with Reforged. Timeline one... Okay, if everything's just as it is, I think very, 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 very low chance. I think they have more than enough other places to do. And I don't know whether I believe in Zoteka that much. I know it's in the art book. I know it was kind of canonized, right? So, maybe. I'm going to say I have no confidence. 30%? I would say it's on the table, but it's not something I would prioritize, personally, because there's so much other cool shit that they could do. Do you know what I'm weirdly excited about more than anything else? The idea of a Guild Wars 3 underwater expansion in the Crystal Sea. Or, sorry, I say underwater. I don't just mean underwater. I just mean, like, water-themed expansion. In a proper open world with no loading screens and really disparate, separate islands. And the Margonites sailing the sea and shit. I feel like that would be so... And a big pirate theme. A really good, really strong pirate theme. Like the new Assassin's Creed or whatever, right? Oh. Oh. I would love that. All right, I'm calming down. And then after that, there's Ascalon and there's all that shit. I don't know. Who's Zoteka? Zoteka's a place. It's an island out of time. And Justin, thank you for the $4.99. Thanks for the Guild Wars 3 content. You started watching my Guild Wars 2 stuff when you were in kindergarten. Keep it up. Ah, okay, that's fine though, because it was only $5. Did you really? Did you really start watching in kindergarten? Look, there are no shortage of adults out there who have said, hey, I used to have your videos on when I was nursing my kid or whatever. It's just weird for me to realize the kid might be here now. With his little broccoli hair. Hello there, children! Weirdly, you see a baby curled up in a nappy attached below the Glimmering Arch's mastery. What? A baby curled up in a nappy below the Glimmering Arch's mastery. Which one was that? The Glimmering Arches are here. The mastery is here. You see a baby curled up in a nappy. What, on map art or actually in game somewhere? You're just taking the piss. It was high school. Okay. No, that's not good though. Guys, we've got to appeal to the youth demographic. Are there any big water leviathans in lore they could add? Not necessarily. Who cares? They could add it anyway. They don't need it already in lore. Just write them. They're not transcribing a text, right? That's this sacred thing that they can only cover. It's not like Peter Jackson adding a fifth Hobbit to the Fellowship. That's not what this is. They can do whatever the fuck they want. To be honest, there's a lot that they can expand. They can add the fifth Hobbit if they want.
I hunt minerals inland. A mission of great import.
You know, they can cut Glorfindel if they want. Well, I don't know about cuts. You'd love to see them take the water combat and really make it good. It's fine in Guild Wars 2. Too many skills can be used. All right, look. Underwater combat is a whole other ball game. And it's past midnight, and I think we got to stop this, guys. Yeah, I have a lot to say about underwater combat. Underwater combat is one of those things where I remember them talking at length about underwater combat and how much better it was than other MMOs and what they were doing with Guild Wars 3. And they really worked very hard, and they went above and beyond for underwater stuff in Guild Wars 2. And it's really weird for me to know that we're now going to be in that conversation again, as though Arenanet never made any headway. But the truth is, I think they made incredible headway. I think they did very good. I think underwater combat as a specific is leagues above anything else in any other MMO already. But it's missing a certain something. And I think I know what that is. But we'll talk about it on another one, because that could be its own video. Read the comment by PRSCEU. Okay, where is it? Why? I don't see it. Oh, okay, up there. You asked why I said Project Moon. It's the internal name for Guild Wars 3. That maybe lends some cadence to it being Grenth-centered if that connection is made between him and the moon. Again, though, why are you saying that, though? Where have you heard that? What's your source? Citation needed. So let's wait and see him respond. Yeah, and what's this about this other studio? Fuck. You'll have to drop it as a comment. What's this thing about the other studio? He's John, ain't it? I know the Zaitan fight wasn't great, but people were already upset back then by the lack of endgame. I think having not Aura at release would have been a mistake. Okay. You've conflated like 5 things. You've combined like 5 things. The Zaitan fight isn't endgame anyway. The Zaitan fight has nothing to do with endgame. Endgame was about what are the rewards like in dungeons? How hard is it to get the rewards in dungeons? Do we view map completion as a thing everyone does, or a special endgame activity that only some people does? How rich is the Mystic Forge? How rich are the side activities? How rich is World vs. World? How rich is PvP? How well are people pushed into those formats? How torturous is the legendary crafting process? That's endgame. Every single thing I just listed on the list there can and would have been done without Ore. Ore has nothing to do with that. Ore added some facets of endgame by way of the God Temples, but there were meta events anyway elsewhere. Or whether they did not need to go into that story subject material and add that region to have a rich, full endgame. The reason they didn't have a rich, full endgame has nothing to do with Ore and nothing to do with Zaitan. It has everything to do with how easy it was to get gear, how easy it was to get dungeon tokens, how easy it was to cheese dungeons, the fact that they weren't slowly releasing dungeons, but they bulked them all out immediately, and there was no sense of a prog phase for dungeons. It was all of that. The criticism at launch was that the only thing to do was get legendaries, and that has nothing to do with whether they added the Zaitan fight or not. So hopefully I've articulated that to you quite clearly. I'm sure that they didn't need to do Ore. It's got nothing to do with it. It was philosophy stuff and how deeply they went into waiting around to having fun and respecting your time and the anti-grind philosophy. That's what impacted whether Guild Wars 2 felt like it had endgame. Okay. PRS EU says the file names on the paths for the images for the website plus the trailer in Discord were both called Moon, and it was the name used on a resume for someone long before the game was announced. Okay, so if it's Moon, if the internal name is Moon, then yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? That's very cool, and that adds that to the banner, but it's not called Sun. I don't know, but yeah, that adds a lot to the Grenth thing, doesn't it? Grenth and the Moon? And think about it, Grenth... Oh my god, guys, the revelation. Why does Grenth have a big-ass, prominent-looking scythe in this teaser, even though we associate it with Doom? Why did they do the big scythe up here? Come on, you know why. You know why. Because they're making sure that scythes are a big part of his visual language, because it looks like an eclipse, which has a nice tie into the whole moon thing. Huh? It even looks like there's little craters on the fucking thing. Look at that! Oh, that's such a good observation. That's such a brilliant observation there, that looks like a pockmarked eclipsed moon. And now it's not even in the video. Well, there you go. There's a little something for the extended cut for people. I think that's amazing. Guild Wars Sun and Moon. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the sun is there too, so maybe we're onto something with the Doom thing. Interesting. I will temper the moon thing a little bit. Let me have a look here. Guild Wars franchise, other Arenanet projects. What have we seen? We've seen Arrakis. Now that was pretty obvious because that was June. They had Project Canoe. They had Project Cyber City. They had Generation. An unknown and unreal project. We never got the name for that. The mobile game and another one. I don't know. Does the internal name really mean much? What were the internal names for the other products? What was Guild Wars 2's internal name for that matter? Does anyone remember? I feel like we did actually know that. I want to cover that just before I sign off for the day. Wiki surely has it. Guild. Searching Guild Wars 2 on the Guild Wars 2 wiki. And now let me control F for the word project. Nothing. Internal. No, nothing. Name. Fuck, what was their internal name for Guild Wars 2? I swear that's info we know. That has released at some point. It's not on the wiki. Cyber City, was that the code name for EOD? No, that was the really fake. That was the first. I'll just show it to you guys because why not? That was this bad boy. This little fellow right here. This. If some of you guys have forgotten about this or you don't know about this, this is Arenanet concept art from about 6 months to a year after the release of Guild Wars 2. So right about when they kicked up Season 1 and everything. And it was clearly a hard sci-fi thing. My big theory about it has always been that they had released Guild Wars 2 and they were very happy with what they had done. They were happy with dynamic events, they were happy with their combat, they were happy with their exploration. They basically had a format. They had a style of MMO. They were happy with their monetization and their anti-grind philosophy. And they thought to themselves, do you know what would be cool? What would be really fucking cool is if we had 2 MMOs. And like one of them is for like sci-fi franchise fans and the other's for like fantasy fans. A bit like how Bethesda would leapfrog from the Fallout franchise to the Elder Scrolls franchise. And look, they've figured all the tough stuff out. They figured the engine out. Just do something new with a different art style. And so I think this is all just my theory, right? And I think they were internally developing another game with this outlook. And for that reason, a bunch of people moved over to it. And for that reason, Living World Season 1 was a thing instead of expansions. And I think they worked on it for a while. And then I think that the project got shit canned. Why did it get shit canned? My theory about this, and again, these are all just theories, but my theory about this is that NCSoft said, hey, Arenanet, we're going to do a sci-fi MMO in the West with another studio. It's going to be called WildStar. So instead of you making one, just give them your ideas, and can you just collaborate with them? And Arenanet said, well, what the fuck? We love this idea. And NCSoft said, yeah, we don't know whether we really see 2 of those in the West. And so then they closed it down. And all that money and dev effort and time evaporated. That's my theory. And I have no real evidence for it whatsoever, just that it feels like it kind of makes sense. And also because right around Season 1, right around when Season 1 was closing, do you guys remember when the Triple Trouble patch came out? Do you remember that that's when they added the big orange telegraphs to the game? They were specifically coded and designed and implemented in collaboration with WildStar. WildStar was big on ground telegraphs and had figured that out. And Guild Wars was struggling with its visual noise and meta events. And the two studios had collabed The idea being that, you know, they were both under the NCSoft umbrella, and Arenanet could learn a little something from WildStar, and WildStar could learn a little from Arenanet. Now, you could just say, well, maybe WildStar learned about events and stuff, I don't know. But I wonder whether it was a bit more unilateral in that way, and actually a lot of the concepts for whatever Arenanet had been working on. So anyway, yeah, this is Cyber City. That's the big theory. That's the big idea about Cyber City. I got to stop, guys. I got to stop. Look, we got lots to talk about. Thank you all. Look, if I've missed your comments, I'm really sorry. Talk to me tomorrow. Guild Wars 3 Daily tomorrow. Thank you all. Have a good night. And I'll see you next. Or it was a side project done by an Arenanet artist. But it was done on the clock, and it was like a part of Arenanet. But yeah, maybe. Maybe. I don't claim to know. But there was a lot of good fun speculations about that. Isn't there multiple moons in Guild Wars 2? That's a weird one. I thought that there were 2 major satellites. I could have sworn that there were moments in Guild Wars 1 where you could look at the night sky and see 2 moons. I could have sworn it. But I don't know about that, actually. I don't think so. I think mostly there's 1 moon, and it changes a lot with Mad King Thorn. By the way, talking about like divine-type entities that have deep connections with the moon, Mad King Thorn's an interesting one, because like in the Mad Realm, it's got a big face on it and stuff. I don't know. Right. Good night, guys. Thanks for all the donations. Holy shit. Oink, oink, oink. See you next time. Fuck, I was going to say something, and now I'm looking in chat, and I can't even see it. If that's accurate, you wonder if there's any features that WildStar had that Arenanet will use. It was definitely the telegraphs. I mean, that was a long time ago. I doubt there'd be much.